The greatest SS rank assassin sacrifices himself after humanity is wiped out, only to wake up 7 years in the past as a weak outcast student. But the real shock? He returned possessing the Absolute Devour System, the exact same demonic power the Emperor of Hell used to kill him. In this video, watch how Chen transforms from the Academy's laughingstock into a one-man army, using demonic powers to brutally crush his bullies and literally shattering the Academy's assessment machine just by unleashing a fraction of his aura. But what happens when he publicly humiliates the top student council leader? And how will he prepare for the hellish invasion that gets closer every single day? In the year 2167, planet Earth witnessed a complete demonic invasion that turned it into scattered ash. In short, humanity fell. Amidst the ruins of human civilization and the sound of ragged breaths, he emerged as the sole resistor in the face of annihilation, standing in a final defiance as the last SS-rank assassin facing bloody death with unbreakable gazes. Recalling the memory of the dark days, 7 years ago, the armies of the Demon Kings abruptly and mercilessly invaded our world. Do you call yourself humanity's last hope? Your entire race is nothing but worthless scum. The beast then prepared, opening its terrifying jaws to devour him as a final hearty meal, as devastating crimson energy began gathering and condensing between the Demon King's sharp claws. Now, I will absorb every drop of your life essence to become my energy. Moments later, the roaring crimson energy torrent unleashed to completely erase him from existence. That bloody storm completely swallowed his body, hiding him amidst a vortex of doom. My little sister, my comrades, my master. Overwhelmed by a massive anger for losing everyone he loved, he screamed in the face of death, "You took everything from me," pledging to himself with absolute resolve to drag the tyrant down with him. "If this is for them, then I'll drag you with me to hell." Ultimate skill, flare of annihilation. The shock of the explosion struck the area, freezing the Hell Emperor in place from the horror of the sudden power. And as the white flare gradually obliterated him, he smiled at death with the bitter smile of a defeated victor. In that final flash, he conjured the image of his sister, whispering longingly, "Sion, I'll see you soon." Then a phantom of his wise master manifested, standing before him in the remaining final moments of his life. Followed by the appearance of his absent parents, in the flash of agony, he whispered with a broken heart, "Mother, Father." Then his soul began tearing with fatal sorrow over his complete inability to protect them and save them from this fate, realizing with a fatal realization that discovering the rifts early would have changed destiny. If only I had been a little stronger. And certain that aborting the birth of the first emperor would have erased the catastrophe. If I could turn back time and prevent the first emperor from appearing. Reaching total certainty that an early confrontation would have prevented the loss. Why did I lose everything so quickly? Immediately after, an absolute darkness swallowed the entire scene, bringing down the curtain on the end of the world. Everything faded for him to return and slowly regain consciousness amidst blurred, distorted vision. As his eyes opened with extreme heaviness and pain, as if waking from a long, dark nightmare. Instead of inevitable death, he found himself lying in his old room, on that familiar medical bed. "I'm not dead?" He began casting confused glances, denouncing the reality of time and space. "Where am I? Wasn't the world destroyed? Where did all these humans come from?" Then he headed toward the window with trembling legs, trying to explore his surroundings and understand what was going on around him, to be shocked that the quiet university campus before him completely contradicted the recent hell of his memory. Struck by the shock of life returning to a world and people swallowed by annihilation before his eyes moments ago. It took me some time to accept this reality, to realize that the impossible had come true by the return of time. I returned to the damn university days, 10 years ago from now. Suddenly, the screen flashed and a cold, mechanical voice of unknown origin pierced the silence of his reverie, as a blue interface announced the completely successful integration of the talent, displaying "Integration of Gluttony Power Complete." His trembling hand nervously grabbed his device's screen to read the data displayed before him. The device's screen firmly confirmed the actual date for him, May 16, 2157. Clenching his fist tightly until his knuckles turned white. May 16, 2157? That means... Realizing that he still has exactly 3 years to prepare, that I am standing now a full 3 years before the first Emperor's appearance. That Fire Emperor will tear through dimensions with his dominant power to bring total destruction to the world, behind whom merciless mutant hordes will crawl, aiming to swallow the earth and everyone on it. Here, his eyes ignited with invincible resolve and a mad desire for revenge and to protect what remained. Crushing the first Emperor is the key to turning destiny. Wrath was the one who opened the gates of hell, and now the golden opportunity is in his hands to annihilate this tyrant before his birth. But the Absolute Devourer interface's flash returned to stir his confusion and questions once again, as that glowing panel remained solidly floating before him, like a mysterious shadow accompanying him since his miraculous awakening. The revelation of the system's statistics before him being the first starting spark toward the anticipated journey of ascent, knitting his brows in surprise. But what's up with this screen called Gluttony system? For in his past life, he relied entirely on his instinct as an awakened. Stats like video games? In my past life, I fought with my bare instinct. For in his past life, he relied entirely on his instinct as an awakened, especially since the percentage of people who obtain awakening and superpowers is only 1 in 10,000, and since awakened academies only accept the elite. The National University here only accepts the talented elite, while he was just an ordinary person without powers. But in the past, I was a bug at the bottom of the food chain, reaching the conclusion that his presence in the medical bed was inevitable. Everyone kicked me, and that's why I'm in the clinic now. His thoughts were interrupted by the sudden appearance of a mysterious icon before him, moving smoothly to reveal the awaited surprise. An interface screen dedicated to the Lightning Assassin class opened, announcing, "Archive file, Lightning Assassin." Lightning Assassin? Isn't that my class in my past life? I can feel the energy coursing through my veins. Realizing that his awakening happened very early in this timeline. Did I inherit my powers and awaken early? Immediately starting to examine his class options through the panel enthusiastically. Let's put this to the real test now. But soon, the interface suddenly disappeared, returning him to his surrounding confusing reality, following his friend entering the room in shock after the door burst open with a sudden slam. "Dude, you're awake? Are you okay?" From his friend's reaction, he came to a quick conclusion that others can never see the system interface. "Damn, what is this? Your bruises and wounds have completely disappeared? How did you recover faster than me when I'm the awakened one here?" Contemplating his friend's face in a silence laden with bitterness, remembering the reality of his friend being killed in the future during the invasion. In the past, his body was brutally torn apart on the 3rd day of the invasion, finally grasping the reality of his return in time. But now he is alive and well. Only now I truly felt the sanctity of the return. His friend suddenly slapped his forehead. "Damn it, tomorrow is the final rank test," confirming that passing the assessment is a fundamental condition for graduation. "I know you haven't awakened yet, but it's important for our graduation. Move, come on." And so the two friends left the clinic heading to the crowded university campus, watching the students training and resting in the courtyards in a surreal scene unbelievable to someone who lived through the end of the world, where the campus was bustling with vitality and activity, and life pulsed strongly in every corner. It's been a very long time since I saw this many living humans. "What are you babbling about? Let's walk around the track to clear your mind of this nonsense." With sharp looks, he remembered his tragic past and the state of helplessness he lived bitterly, strongly determined not to allow the tragedies of the past to repeat. "I lost everything once, and this will never happen again." Making a decisive decision about the necessity of gaining power as quickly as possible to change the future. I must raise my rank as quickly as possible. And because the only way to increase power is to fight mutants and annihilate them inside the Dark Abyss rifts, which the guilds completely monopolize, he wondered about his current rank, where he stands now, especially since most students are classified in rank E, while only the elite reach D, curiously wondering about the awaited rank. I wonder, how will the academy scale evaluate my current energy in the test? Deep down, realizing that he had become much stronger than his previous weak level, he was ready to be fully prepared. But suddenly, a sudden collision occurred. A stray basketball hit his friend's face forcefully, leading to a resounding fall for him on the ground, his nose bleeding and his medical glasses flying away, as they noticed a group of bullying students approaching them with confident steps and provocative looks. The leader stepped forward, insolently bragging, "Yo, isn't this C-Chan and Ma Long? You two recovered pathetically fast, huh?" Wiping his blood in terror. "Damn, our rotten luck, we ran into him again," while he faced the gang with deadly cold glares, devoid of any shred of panic or retreat. The bully laughed to his cronies. "See, I told you these two frail bodies take punches excellently." He then began scolding them with entitlement. "Do you know I'm playing here? So why didn't you bring cold drinks as sacrifices of obedience to me?" Trembling submissively, his friend bowed. I'm really sorry. I'll go buy them right away for you." With an icy gaze piercing the soul, his arm suddenly extended, gripping his shoulder with steel strength. "Stop long. It's not your fault to apologize. Rather, they're the ones who owe you an apology that wipes the floor with their pride." Here, the clouds of memory cleared from his mind, matching the face of the bully before him with the worst nightmares of his painful past. Black memories of his humiliating suffocation in the toilet water surfaced, while their sadistic laughter echoed like the voices of demons. Recalling the horrific moments of their torture under the pretext of stimulating his awakening, pushing him time and time again toward the cold edge of death, he remembered how his friend was brutally beaten right in front of him during desperate attempts to save him in that dark past. An unshakable certainty settled in his heart that absolute evil is never limited to the ravaging rift monsters. Rather, he bitterly realized that the brutality of humans often exceeds the most despicable demons of the abyss he had ever faced. As the gathered students exchanged glances, whispering sarcastically, "Look, Guangchang is going to beat them up again." The tyrant's features ignited with anger at his pride being publicly scratched, prompting his friend to silently plead with him in sheer terror to stop this rebellion that seemed suicidal and deadly. Screaming, the bully's features blazed with blind rage. "What did you just say? It seems you need another lesson." He lunged like a rank 5 fighter to crush his prey. In contrast, he faced this violent rush with icy coldness, despising his opponent's cowardice, whom he now saw as a mere insect, secretly realizing that this bully's influence was nothing but a pale shadow of his leader brother, and that he lacked any actual combat skill. While the bastard's entourage gathered around them, maliciously and eagerly waiting for the usual theatrical crushing of the two boys to begin, the opponent approached, surrounded by a faint magical aura, throwing a punch that seemed to him crushing and enough to end it all. But he rooted himself in place like an immovable mountain, unbothered by the furious tyrant's roar that tore through the air. Arrogantly, the bully challenged him, demanding that he repeat his rebellious words if he dared to do so. An icy, decisive response came from him, demanding the opponent to get out of his sight immediately and without any discussion. At that moment, the bastard lost his mind completely and threw a reckless punch charged with anger, only to end in a shocking surprise that silenced everyone. With a resounding crash, he stopped the massive attack with the palm of his hand in total coldness, as if blocking a weightless, fluttering feather. The rebounding force of the block harshly threw the attacker's body backward, making him stagger and lose his balance pathetically. An absolute bewilderment prevailed, silencing the expectant crowd's tongues, as students whispered in shock. What just happened?" Silent questions began to gnaw at their minds about how an ordinary, unawakened student managed to block a deadly attack this simply. Stepping back, his face burning red with anger at his shattered prestige, the bully screamed, "How dare a weak insect like you challenge me?" A cold, demonic smile formed on his lips after finding a victim to test his powers on, whispering, "Let's try this on you. You are a perfect lab rat." Suddenly, with the announcement of the complete switch, golden sparks exploded, transforming him into a living storm, embodying the skills of the lightning assassin. His friend's jaw dropped in absolute shock and awe as he watched this legendary and terrifying awakening. Amidst the roaring flash of lightning, he raised his hand in a provocative gesture, inviting his opponent to step forward and meet his doom. The opponent screamed in desperation, summoning his skill, Immortal Demon Shield, transforming his arm into a massive, impenetrable rocky mass. Rushing forward with a stone punch like a crushing meteor to end his life, he roared, "I see you've forgotten the taste of my deadly punch." But he evaded the strike with the agility of an unseen ghost, lunging with a sudden counterattack that exceeded the speed of sight. His electrified fist sank with merciless cruelty right into the center of the bastard's face, shattering his defenses. With the echo of a thunderous explosion, a single punch was enough to send the bully flying through the air like a broken doll. The crowd's minds froze in terror where they stood, unable to believe the horror of the overwhelming scene that had just occurred before them. The terrifying and lightning-fast speed of the crushing far exceeded the attendees' capacity to analyze or understand. Falling to the ground spitting blood, he tried to justify his humiliating defeat by screaming, "He managed to ambush and betray me." Following it up with hysterical screaming, he ordered his followers to intervene. "Why are you just standing and watching? I will kill you!" However, the gang stiffened in their places in terror like statues, completely ignoring the orders of his broken leader, for his suffocating energy emitting like a hurricane paralyzed the movement of anyone who even dared to think about approaching. The tyrant staggered to his feet with difficulty, vowing to tear his opponent to pieces in one last desperate attempt. Yet he blocked the rushing attack with deadly coldness, without the slightest noticeable effort, as if he were toying with a child. His electrified fist touched the attacker's arm and burned it, wrenching from him resounding screams of pain that shook the arena. Looking down on him with an overwhelming presence, he confirmed to him in an icy whisper that he was too pathetic to even be a rival. "You are too weak." Followed by a lightning-fast shattering punch that completely crushed the bully's jaw, putting a bloody end to this fight, sending the bastard's heavy body flying through the air with humiliating weakness, like a broken doll that had lost its strings. His trajectory ended with a violent and resounding crash as the opponent's body slammed against the harsh stone wall of the arena, leaving behind a crater and deep cracks carved into the wall, immortalizing the humiliating fall of their arrogant leader. Here, an absolute silence swallowed the crowds, frozen in panic and awe of this mighty brutality they'd never witnessed before. Glued to his spot, unable to comprehend the scene unfolding before him, his friend murmured in shock, "Sichin, when did he get so strong?" Drowning in a harsh existential shock at his formerly weak friend's transformation into this terrifying entity standing before him. As for the hero, he ignored all the bewilderment surrounding him, diving into studying his system data and analyzing it in complete silence, secretly confirming his full control while coldly analyzing the situation. "I can switch to the Lightning Assassin class whenever I wish," realizing a shocking truth. "This explains why my normal body is stronger than rank E. Its constitution exceeds it by unclassified leaps." However, the euphoria of this new power suddenly collided with a mysterious problem that surfaced right after the victory. He stared at the interface in confusion, wondering, why haven't my stats changed, and why haven't I gained any experience points despite crushing the opponent? At that moment, an electrified blade flashed and suddenly appeared in his hand, instinctively searching for a true way to upgrade and gain power. He began stepping with deadly slowness toward the collapsed body, the appearance of the weapon sparking the crowd's hysteria and terror at his obvious killing intent. Pointing the blade directly at the opponent's vein, planting absolute terror while his friend screamed in panic. "Chen, wait, what are you doing?" While his eyes sparked with dark menace, his thoughts dove into a bloody possibility that required actual bloodshed to gain experience points, just like before. While his eyes burned, his primal resolve led him to whisper a threat to himself. My primal resolve was guiding me to take this bully's soul and send him to meet his ancestors without an ounce of mercy. But suddenly, a firm female voice pierced the air to bring everyone back to reality, reminding the hero of the strict campus rules. As she stepped forward with a sly smile, she intervened to end the conflict.
"Hey, you know we're on a school campus, right? Don't you think this punishment is enough?"
The vice president of the council clicked her heel on the ground, strictly pledging. "Even though he started the mess, I guarantee you he won't dare bother you two again." With total coldness, he concealed his lightning blade in response to this swift intervention, seemingly complying with the order. The hero wondered to himself about the council's defense of the scum. Why are they trying so hard to defend him? I didn't actually intend to kill him. Realizing that instilling terror is the only deterrent, he thought. But if I don't show killing intent, these parasites will keep bothering us in the future. Meanwhile, the crowds whispered in terror. His looks are truly terrifying. Aren't they the weakest losers? He smiled sarcastically, whispering, "We'll see." Later that night, the scene shifted to the student dorms, specifically inside the crowded dormitory rooms. There, his friend desperately shouted and reacted, trying to convince his roommates. "Why won't you believe me? Chen really awakened. He is actually a mighty lightning assassin." Continuing his emotional description of humiliating the tyrant. "He pinned Guangcheng to the ground and wiped the floor with his dignity. Now no one will even dare to look us in the eyes." However, his roommate interrupted him with sarcastic mockery, doubting the story. All right, and where is our valiant hero now?" He replied simply as he stood confused. I think he said he was going out for a run." The flame mage burst into mocking laughter. "If he has such mythical strength, why the hell does he need to run? Since when do awakened train like ordinary humans?" Here, their other roommate intervened with feigned pity, claiming that his friend's brain had been severely damaged from the beating, delivering a bitter, indisputable reminder. "Listen, Long, the reason the four of us are gathered here is that we have the worst grades in the entire batch. It's an undeniable, irrefutable fact." He started to brag with arrogant pride, affirming the rule. "And everyone awakens only one class in their lifetime." He began boasting about his monopoly on the offensive class. "You two are just support mages, while I possess the only offensive class here." Rejecting that fairy tale with an aspiration for the top and confidently affirming, "I am getting stronger, and tomorrow in the final assessment, everything will be revealed." In another dark spot, specifically in the 5th rank training arena around the experimental rift, the scene was different, where the absolute leader appeared, having just finished his training, leaving behind a terrifying aura reflecting his dominance. Monster blood stained his heavy coat following a harsh training massacre he fought mercilessly, announcing the end of training amidst his followers' absolute silence and their total reverence for his breathtaking prestige. There, the leader found his younger brother standing in anxious anticipation at the exit. The defeated brother appeared covered in medical bandages, filled with a blind malice boiling in his veins. He screamed with intense emotion. "Brother, if you don't do something about this, I won't be able to sleep. He insulted me in front of everyone. He doesn't have an ounce of respect for you or the council." The leader shot him a cold look devoid of sympathy, answering, "I know, you were simply defeated, that's all there is to it," making a decisive promise to settle the score personally in a deadly tone. "I will handle it." The scene shifts, gathering the student council elites in a luxurious lounge around a fine dinner banquet. There, she sat, sipping her drink with biting sarcasm, asking, "But is this boy really as strong as your brother claims?" Showing extreme surprise at how this nobody possesses an alleged mythical power that defies expectations, reminding him of a strict statistic. "There are fewer than 10 students in the 4th rank, and you've recruited them all into your club," confirming the reality of the impenetrable evolution barrier. Aside from that, ordinary students don't have opportunities to enter monster rifts to develop their energies like we do. Based on this absolute monopoly, she downplayed his threat with blind confidence, saying, "No one can match you." Far from that arrogance and under the whips of heavy rain, he was exhausting his body by carrying 100 kilograms running for 20 kilometers, certain, as he panted, that basic training is the key. Basic training is the key to building a solid physical foundation. Only a strong body can unleash the true limits of class energy. Despite this massive effort, he still felt a thirst for evolution and that his body needed more, sorrowfully recalling scenes of destruction. Remembering, in the year 2160, the Hell Emperor Wrath appeared, where he caused the annihilation of millions with a dominant power. In a single moment, he annihilated millions, marking the beginning of the end of the world, and remembering with deadly bitterness who he lost. "And my only family, my little sister, died at his hands." Realizing he was the reason for opening the gates to the sweeping invasion. He is the one who opened the gates of hell for the invasion, so he made a bloody oath in his granted new life. His eyes ignited with invincible resolve amidst the rain, certain of the inevitability of the difficult race against time. He's definitely getting stronger now, so I must evolve much faster than him. Suddenly, a continuous buzzing from his phone interrupted his train of thought and grueling training, as the screen lit up with a name that caused a violent tremor in his heart. Sion, his sister, who died in the past. He caught his breath with difficulty, trying to maintain his psychological composure to answer. "Hello?" Her voice came to him with warm, childish enthusiasm. "Hello, brother. Why did you call me so much today? I was in a competition and my phone ran out of charge." She continued recounting her simple ambition with hope. "Listen, if I win, we'll finally be able to pay off all the accumulated rent." But he drifted off into the cruelty of the past, making her wonder about his suspicious silence amidst the sounds of rain, whispering with anxious surprise. "Brother, is it raining there? Why aren't you talking?" Hiding the truth and remembering his desperate prayers in the destroyed future. Can everything really start over, even if I had to descend into an eternal hell? Then he replied with a shaky voice hidden by a sad smile. "It's nothing, just, it's been a very long time since I heard your voice." She laughed with absolute innocence, saying, "What are you saying? We talked just 2 days ago. We'll meet right after my competition ends. Bye." Then he looked up at the sky, possessed by a definitive certainty. Now, everything has truly started anew. Deciding to double his effort with strength and determination. 3 more laps. I must get stronger as fast as possible to protect everything I have. After 8 continuous hours of hellish training, he returned to his dark room to find his roommates asleep, where he stood under the warm water drops, immersed in deep analysis. I'm beginning to adapt to this body. But the obsession with upgrading dominated his mind. To raise my level, I must enter a demon rift. Here he faced the major obstacle standing in his way. And the guilds monopolize them completely. How will I track monsters then? Realizing with bitterness that depriving the weak of those rifts leaves them as easy prey for the awaited invasion hordes, a flash of thought led him to ask himself with doubt, and what exactly is this gluttony or absolute devour system? Suddenly, the sharp system beep resonated within his mind, initiating an automatic and mysterious boot-up process. As the blue screen announced the completion of loading, "System online, loading," indicating the system's readiness to load complex codes. A system message echoed in his head, "Initiating gluttony system, opening a passage to an unknown dimension." After a blinding white flash, he suddenly plunged into an unknown, completely dark dimension. Crashing violently onto soil dyed the color of blood, he coughed up red dust, groaning with sharp pain. Ugh, what is this crushing landing? As he stood up in the middle of a closed arena, he contemplated his surroundings with awe and apprehension. This is a battleground shaded by an anomalous sky, as red as hell. Then he looked up with utter bewilderment toward the horizon, and a giant tower with savage Gothic architecture piercing the dead clouds stood before me. He was bewildered, feeling his damp clothes and whispering in surprise. How did I teleport from my bed and bathroom instantly to this mysterious landmark in a fraction of a second? But he caught a glimpse of scattered skeletons and narrowed his eyes with extreme caution. These are the remains of massive canine monsters. They must be waiting for something. Soon, the dark soul was breathed into the scattered bones, forming death hounds belonging to the Cloud Warrior class around him. At that moment, he realized his inevitable confrontation, drawing his fists with solidity. Facing monsters means one thing: I likely teleported to a demonic lair or a forgotten rift. He immediately activated the transformation skill to deter the imminent threat that was surrounding him from all sides to devour him. He shouted with focus, and his card materialized with a strong flash. Lightning Assassin. The Lightning Assassin class granted him a 10-fold kinetic multiplier all at once. The Deathhounds attacked him with sudden ferocity and bared fangs seeking to tear his flesh, but he moved like the blue flash, whispering in cold blood. Too slow. Reaping the monster's souls one after another in cold blood with a cutting blade faster than sound. He claimed the easy spoils of battle, collecting the death fang 3 consecutive times in moments, shaking the blood off his blade with arrogant confidence. Annihilating these rank E creatures seems like a stroll for my current restored power. Breathing the smell of blood and rust with complete certainty. This pain and this blood, I am certain of the reality of the battle. This is absolutely not an illusion. He gained 52 experience points following every successful execution of a monster he took down. He smiled with satisfaction as he read his interface. Level 2, I finally discovered this place's ability to hone my level away from the eyes of the guilds. As the system window recorded a 5-fold surge in his stats, he flexed his energy-engorged muscles. My speed and strength have multiplied noticeably in a few minutes. He rejoiced at his secret discovery inwardly with hidden enthusiasm. I found an exclusive demonic lair capable of solo raiding without any competition bothering me, defining his goal with an irrevocable, decisive look. I have resolved to drain all the resources of this dimension and cleanse it completely. He tightened his grip on his sword with strength and determination. And I will test my maximum combat energies here and push them to their absolute limits. Suddenly, the earth split open forcibly, and he evaded a deadly attack with extreme difficulty. "So you are the boss of the monsters here." Clashing with the boss, who initiated a brute attack on him, he settled the grinding battle in his favor with a decisive lightning strike, panting with relief. Ascending to the 3rd level, I jumped to the 3rd level all at once. He looted 18 Deathhound fangs and a glowing orphan crystal as a precious yield of victory, observing his points with intense admiration. "The massive experience surge gained from the boss is amazing. It raised me 2 levels in the blink of an eye." An anomalous phrase, glowing in crimson, protruded above the boss's corpse. Devourable. He knit his brows in confusion and surprise. What is the significance of this unknown option? Denouncing the strange word he was seeing for the first time, his eyes gleaming with a fleeting flash of understanding. Should I connect this to the true essence of the gluttony power I possess? Extending his hand with a curiosity tinged with caution toward the lifeless corpse. Let's try. A terrifying, sudden crimson energy wrapped around his arm like hungry snakes and growled, swallowing the monster's entity to dust in a bloody, swift, and disgusting scene that chills the spine. He stepped back, stunned. I'm shocked! The monster was completely absorbed following the Devour process, until no trace of it remained. The essence crystallized as a holographic card, and he read the card in a low voice. It displays its properties as Frost Constitution, an anti-ice skill. He was stunned by his discovery, staring at his hand in disbelief at what was happening. The feature of looting enemies' classes and skills after annihilating them? This is sheer madness! Terrified inwardly the moment he grasped the nature and danger of this forbidden skill in his world, remembering the nightmares of the past, he whispered with a terror squeezing his heart. This skill is completely identical to the weapon of the Demon King Lan in my destroyed past life, and I miraculously succeeded in acquiring it for myself in this life to be my secret weapon. Realizing the magnitude of the anomaly and the defiance of the universe's laws. This feature violated the absolute cosmic law of an awakened possessing exclusively one class throughout his life, looking at his 2 shadows reflected on the stained ground. To become now the possessor of 2 simultaneous classes in one body, switching between them whenever I wish. Terrifying horizons opened before him, and he smiled with hidden ferocity, vowing, by devouring more monsters here, completing his ambitious plan inwardly, I will accumulate an infinite arsenal of combat classes to become the strongest and greatest of all time, while he looked at the dimension's strange sky in confusion. However, the mystery of granting me this forbidden gift still troubles me and seeks a satisfying answer, staring at the towering structure with cautious anticipation. And what is the truth of this dark tower standing before me that gifted it to me without an obvious return? Suddenly, a crushing pressure descended from the top of the tower, instilling terror in his limbs and forcing him to his knees against his will. The entity resonated with an ambiguous, welcoming voice from the top of the tower. You have finally arrived. I have been waiting for you for an epoch. Emanated majestically clad in black, brandishing 2 purple swords and calling out confidently. Si Shen. Inwardly, with sweat covering his panicked face, I recalled the government classification of powers, from E to the legendary S sitting at the peak, continuing to remember with hurtful bitterness, and my bloody suffering trying to reach the peak S in my previous doom and my death just to touch it. Analyzing his bitter reality before this opponent, while my current power sits at rank D as a maximum and does not exceed it. Realizing the magnitude of the catastrophe surrounding him. The stats of this S-ranked entity standing before me crushed all my weak scales the moment he stood, denouncing inwardly with utter bewilderment. What is the nature of this crazy liar that houses a rank S monster on its very first floors? His confusion growing into terror of the unknown. What's worse, what is the mystery of the entity knowing my personal name with such precision? The entity lunged toward him, and the clash began, engaging in a bloody collision in which he quickly realized his opponent's deliberate leniency in every move. Evading the entity's blade, he thought with suspicion. He is completely avoiding hitting the vital points in my body, as if he is toying with me. But the entity threw him to the ground with effortless touches, like one playing with a small, weak child, glaring at him with a mocking glow, inquiring with total coldness. Still resisting? What's the point of resisting me, you weak human? He grasped the entity's malicious purpose of bringing him to his knees, humiliating him and subjecting him psychologically before eliminating him, offering him with suspicious malice. Join me in guarding this tower. It is a legendary opportunity I will grant you. But he stood on his feet, refusing. Impossible. Decisively concluding his absolute refusal to stay in this eternal hell as a blind guard. The entity was annoyed by the decisive refusal and suddenly slashed his body with his blade to punish him for his insolence, asking with indignation and a blatant threat, "Did you think yourself immune to death because I went easy on you?" Justifying his initial forbearance and leniency. "You are the only visitor capable of reaching the top of this tower. That's why I gave you the chance." Despite his pain, he observed with his eye a purple energy from the entity. He is resuscitating the corpses of the dead monsters to restore the arena anew. The entity's suffocating energy enveloped the arena, granting him a final choice. Choose now. With an absolute and decisive tone of execution. Absolute submission to my rule, or total annihilation, to the point of fading and nothingness. But he, with unyielding solidity, summoned his blade again, resisting the physical pain squeezing his being, replying with a decisive voice tearing the heavy silence. My decision is to eliminate you. The entity erupted in a resounding mockery, his ridicule filling the dark dimension. Ha 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 ha! Truly pathetic and funny. The entity lunged toward his opponent like a rushing arrow that knows no retreat toward its target, and while preparing to engage in close combat with the tyrant in a certain life-or-death battle, his analytical mind caught his opponent's vital flaw, following the exchanged blows throughout the bloody ongoing confrontation, observing his movement with algorithmic precision inwardly. There is an attack delay of fractions of a second before every lunge of his blade. Continuing his tight plan, I will employ this flaw to track the angle of the opponent's wrist and evade the blade one step in advance, glimpsing the boss's fatal weakness, and I discovered a recovery paralysis of fractions of a second following every attack he executes, planning to strike that exposed gap in the absolute boss's defense with all the power he possessed, directing the lightning blade attack at his opponent's heart with all his energy and reserves, shouting, "Take this!" defining his goal inwardly. The goal is to paralyze the boss for precious seconds, bypassing the shortcomings of my rank D in its capacity for direct and instant killing. But the boss's superiority in speed broke the plan, stripping him of the chance for a safe retreat after the attack, activating the Flashmaster skill in panic. I must escape! Multiplying his speed to flee the deadly counterattack, stealing a glance at the sole source of light in the dimension as a final escape route and desperation to save his life. Dashing with maximum acceleration toward the light, wishing to save his life from this predicament that boded no good, only for the exit to suddenly evaporate from existence before him, like a devastating and cruel mirage, evaporating all hope with it. The entity surprised him from behind with terrifying calmness, revealing the illusion of the exit. An illusion. This place has nothing to do with demonic lairs for you to find an exit in it. Praising his quick-wittedness and spotting flaws. Despite that, your analysis and spotting of flaws was impressively perfect and earned my admiration, considering the matter extremely enjoyable and satisfying with a confident tone. You are truly interesting and worth the attempt to be the best. Dropping his mask to appear as a Raksha Star Warrior S, declaring with a resounding voice, "You are the awaited bringer of hope for this world." He was shocked by the identical appearance and features, whispering with terror paralyzing his limbs. It completely matches the face of the Demon King Lan, who destroyed the world in my past life. Inwardly, sweat profusely pouring from his forehead as he drew inspiration from the details of his final battle from his past lives. In my past life, my last fight was against Lan Yu before the destruction of the world. His breathing accelerated, recalling with dread those details. I remember well Lan's seamless switching between his multiple combat classes to raise his overwhelming level during the battle, continuing to remember the nightmarish images etched in his memory. He fought me then in the form of an invincible giant icy bird. Then he clenched his fist with strength and sorrow, only to embody later a flaming warrior, burning the earth and everyone on it, knitting his brows with suppressed anger. Then turning into a massive plant monster, swallowing life from its roots. Amidst those multiple transformations in his memories, he realized an extremely terrifying and shocking matter, looking up with total bewilderment to discover the shocking truth. There was a specific form that was the strongest among them all, staring the entity standing before him in absolute shock. It literally matches the appearance standing before me now, the Raksha. He was struck by lightning as he finally deduced the terrifying truth. This means that Lan Yu devoured the Raksha through the power of gluttony and acquired it in the past. His eyes widened in indescribable terror to grasp the shocking truth. And now, after this gluttony power has merged within my own being, touching his chest in complete bewilderment, to be certain that this entire dimension, including the monsters in it, resides inside my own body. Looking at him with obvious admiration and praise, he interrupted his thoughts. Not only are you amazing under crushing pressure, but you possess sharp intelligence as well. You have proven your solidity, boy, and your complete right to the gains of this secret place. Raising his head in bewilderment and questioning. My right to all the gains of this place? What do you mean? From the void emerged a dazzling golden energy taking the shape of a legendary key, which he pointed to. This is the Void Key of rank SSS, the sole key to breach the closed gates of the demonic tower, with a voice echoing like destiny to clarify the truth of the confinement. Lan Yu devoured the fiercest and most brutal demons in bygone eras, and all of them are now confined inside this tower, behind those gates, inciting him with a bloody, vengeful tone. Breach the doors and devour them all. Turn them into fuel that multiplies your energy and power limitlessly. Gripping the key with a trembling hand, inquiring with doubt and confusion. And why do you do all this? Why do you support me and grant me this power when you are ultimately one of them? His eyes blazing with deep-seated malice, justifying his position. Even among demons, there are moral and bloody differences. The massacre of the Demon Kings annihilated my entire clan to satisfy their endless greed. Looking at him with hope, I have waited an epoch for my awaited chance for revenge, and the prophecy of that unknown man was true. You are the only hope. Interrogating with confusion and anxiety about the identity of this prophet. That man? Who exactly are you talking about? Pointing toward the giant tower, confirming the hiding of answers. All the certain answers hide behind its walls. Go and look for them yourself, when you are ready. His body began to glow and blur, granting his energy to exact retribution from the enemies. Now, take all my energy and exact retribution for us from all of them. Denouncing with bewilderment and terror the inevitability of acquiring this massive energy. Take your full energy as a rank S demon? Giving him orders with enthusiasm and anger before he vanished. From this moment on, you must be an unstoppable, compelling force. Breach the tower and devour its contents, so the world becomes under your feet. Warning of the cunning and ferocity of the demons lurking inside. The demons inside will not show you mercy as I did. They are the most cunning and fierce, emphasizing the necessity of conquering them all to sit on the throne of the world. You must conquer them all to sit on the throne of the real and parallel worlds. Adding strictly, and to continue marching to devour all the remaining demon kings successively, one after another. His entity began its inevitable fading into the void as purple light particles, his voice trembling with enthusiasm, declaring, "Only a resolve like this is the sole qualification to contain my absolute energy." A mighty and violent energy torrent flowed through his arm, illuminating the entire dark dimension with a bright purple glow. The system interface announced his leap to the 10th level following the Absolute Devour, reading the glowing notification. Ascending to the 10th level. The system confirmed its precious spoil of his abyssal bone. Obtained demonic abyssal bone ×2. He stared into the void where he had been, pledging to carry the will of revenge, swearing with a low and firm voice. I will carry the will of revenge with me to the afterlife. The Star Warrior card crystallized, showcasing the acquired destructive skills as he contemplated it in bewilderment. The Skeleton Hollow skill and the Triple Gravity Disaster, these skills are terrifying. He clenched his fist and swore to make the perpetrators pay double the blood tax. And I will make them all pay double the blood tax, inevitably. A night from hell ended as he jolted from his sleep suddenly to the noise of his roommates in the crowded university dorm. Getting out of bed, surprised by his return to reality amidst the colleagues' rush. I'm in my room again? Feeling his intact body free of wounds and scars, doubting the reality of what he lived with confusion. My wounds are completely healed? Was that whole terrifying nightmare just a dream? The system screen settled his doubts, confirming he retained the 10th level and the spoils, reading with deep relief. The system confirms everything is real. The spoils are there. Wondering inwardly about his new classification after this supernatural nocturnal surge. I wonder, what is my current classification compared to the Academy's standards after reaching the 10th level? His thoughts were interrupted by his roommate's call with a provocative voice, looking at him with a mocking and sarcastic tone, folding his shirt slowly. Yeah, Si-Chen, you finally woke up, you valiant hero. Citing their friend's exaggerated bragging last night. Last night, Ma Long was bragging about your supernatural strength as if you were a god of war, mockingly challenging him about his alleged intention to monopolize the dorm leadership. Do you intend to monopolize the dorm leadership from me, or what with these fairy tales? Laughing mockingly, urging him to test his classification to reveal the truth of his abilities. Come on, let's let the official assessment today reveal the truth of your alleged abilities before everyone. Boasting and gesturing with his hand, noting the class disparity within the single low rank range. It's true we're all in rank E, but don't forget the class disparity between us, boasting of his medium classification compared to his lower classification. You are just scum in the lower rank while I am in the medium rank. That's a reality, confirming the widening combat gap that allows him to crush 10 of his likes. The combat gap between us allows me to crush 10 of you at once. Do you understand that? Stepping ahead of them arrogantly, anticipating a potential promotion in his upcoming test. And maybe today I'll get an official promotion to the higher rank and leave you here. He approached and whispered enthusiastically to him to motivate him to snatch a higher rank to deter the colleague's mockery. Chen, do your absolute best today. Get rank D to terrify him, silence his mockery, and shut his mouth forever. He simply received the support with internal sarcasm and total calmness, without any reply. The students from the dorm reached the assessment courtyard, crowded with students and examiners from everywhere, amid an atmosphere charged with anticipation of the test and the tension of knowing the upcoming destinies. Spotting the rudeness of the bullying followers blatantly pushing the crowds out of their way and whispering with fear, "Damn, it's Guangjin's gang," initiating a tactical retreat to avoid friction. "Let's get out of their way to avoid trouble. Step back." The two friends froze in terror the moment the bullying gang's glares collided with them directly. We're done for. However, the gang suddenly froze in their tracks like motionless statues. Absolute terror swallowed them the moment they caught a glimpse of him walking calmly behind his friend, bowing to him with public submissiveness and a trembling voice before everyone, welcoming his majestic presence. "Mr. Si Chen, welcome to your honorable presence." Shocked, his eyes widening, showing his doubt in the truth of the victorious friend's claims. What? Why are they bowing respectfully to Si Chen? Were Ma Long's claims last night actually true? He bypassed them with complete disregard and calm steps that paid them no attention or glance. But the calm did not last, as a member of the student council abruptly intercepted them, mockingly hinting at yesterday's incident. "I heard someone here started a fight with Guang King yesterday," mocking him, boasting of the kinship. "Do you know, you fool, that he's President Guang Ting's younger brother? You've gotten yourself into trouble." The attending students whispered with disdain, dubbing the interceptor the president's pampered dog. "Oh my god, it's Zhang Zhen, the president's pampered dog from the student council." A student whispered in surprise at his targeting of an outcast student. He's classified in rank D. Why is he targeting a weak outcast student like Si Chen? Bragging about possessing a sense that distinguishes the strong from a distance, approaching him. "You know what? I possess a very strong sense of smell that distinguishes the strong and their classifications from long distances," rudely insulting him, describing his aura as pathetic weakness lingering at the bottom. "But all I smell from you now is the pathetic stench of weakness of an outcast student lingering at the bottom who will never amount to anything in his life." But the sarcastic response came like a slap. Chen answered him with icy coldness, mockingly asking if this opponent was crossbred from a bloodhound lineage. A blind anger ignited in the opponent's eyes, the leader's face flushed with blood, ready to pounce and crush this rebel after his public insult. But the leader's intervention stopped everything, as Longshang's calm and cold voice suddenly cut through the arena to stop his raging dog before he could strike. He issued a sudden, fair decision. The leader announced his personal responsibility for his brother's reckless behavior, clearing the hero of any consequences for the time being. Zhang executed blind obedience. He retreated submissively, bowing with absolute respect in compliance with his master's direct orders without any discussion. A silent confrontation began, as the leader cast searching, cold, and piercing looks towards the hero, attempting to probe his depths and discover his secret. Zhang responded with a visual challenge. He exchanged looks with the leader with total steadfastness and a cold fighting spirit, without blinking or taking a step back. They were interrupted by the assessment call. The professor's voice boomed through the loudspeakers, announcing the start of the official assessment and ordering students to step forward according to the established numerical sequence. The leader showed ultimate disdain. He withdrew quietly from the arena, believing in his heart that the hero was just a nobody who posed no real threat to his ambitions. Meanwhile, there was a high-level observation. The official Ling Yu was watching the tense scene with great interest from a high window overlooking the arena. Her companion raised a question, expressing his surprise at why a high-level official would be interested in watching a trivial dispute between mere ordinary students at the bottom. She replied with an amusing prediction and a mysterious smile, expressing her expectation that today's assessment would carry shocking surprises and an unprecedentedly entertaining show. As time passed, the calling of the roommate came. Shang Zhu's name was announced over the loudspeakers after a long and tense hour since the start of the tests. He stepped forward with blind confidence. The conceited roommate walked with excessive confidence towards the platform, determined to explode his alleged energy and dazzle the gathered crowds. He entered the testing booth. Shang stepped into the isolated testing chamber, which was equipped with the latest magical measurement devices. It was a sophisticated, simulated environment. The assessment rituals were conducted in a virtual environment that accurately simulated a low-level demonic rift to ensure measurement precision. In the center sat the measurement heart, Heart, a massive crystal device dedicated to absorbing and precisely measuring the maximum magical energy secreted by the student. The task was to discharge energy. The harsh test required the awakened to discharge their entire essence of power all at once into this device. He began the attack. Xiang struck the device with his magical mace's aura with all his might, standing waiting for his result with pride. The measurement process began. The crystal heart absorbed the explosive energy, immediately passed it to complex assessment devices for analysis. The decoding process launched. Advanced processors analyzed the essence of the pure energy released by the roommate to calculate its actual power. The disappointing result arrived. The screen lit up coldly, announcing his classification in the middle tier of rank E only, shattering all his ego. But there was a missing indicator. The observer certified the preliminary result, waiting for a crucial and additional indicator determined by the system to be uploaded. It is the future potential indicator. The device anticipates the student's maximum future evolution ceiling, which is considered the true gold standard for talent. He possessed a limited ceiling. The roommate's result determined that the maximum future evolution he could reach in his life was rank C. He felt bitter disappointment. The roommate's dreams of reaching rank D today evaporated, realizing his stagnation and that he would remain at the bottom for the next 2 years. He received consolation from his companions. The rest tried to comfort him in silence, while the calling of names continued to echo in the arena without stopping. The confirmation of failure came. The results of the 2 companions, Shang Yu and Ma Long, matched expectations, rightfully falling to the bottom of the low rank E. Suddenly, an exceptional result appeared. A violent shock froze the trio and all those present before a staggering and unexpected number that suddenly appeared on the giant screen. The first D illuminated. The first rank D result of the year illuminated, sparking a mad cheer and cries of admiration among thousands of students. It served as a barrier breaker. Another student reaped rank D as well, with terrifying future potential that touched the threshold of rank A. This caused collective frustration for the companions. The trio sank into total despair, as this student was the 8th to reach rank D, while they remained in the depths of oblivion. Staff bewilderment pervaded the place, as the Academy administration was surprised by the unprecedented number of elite students this year, which exceeded all possible expectations. Amid suffocating anticipation, the observer stood ready to announce the single name that the entire arena was waiting for with bated breath. The feared name echoed through the loudspeakers, the call for Guang Cheng, the absolute and strongest leader of the student council. A mad cheer erupted. The arena roared with thunderous applause and a warm welcome for the young lord of the great Empire Guild. In contrast, with total coldness, Chen stood watching the blind celebration of the crowds from his dark corner with icy looks devoid of any emotion. A terrifying question floated in everyone's minds as the crowds anticipated the new horizons and numbers the leader would break today, especially after 2 years since he reached rank D. Isolation imposed itself as the scene shifted to the heart of the glass testing booth, completely isolated from this external noise. The machine's readiness was announced. The demonic heart device began to prepare and flash to measure the dominant aura possessed by the student council leader. With silent pride, the leader stood tall before the assessment device, ready to display his power and prove his absolute dominance over everyone. With a cunning tactical trick, Guang decided to suppress a large portion of his actual energy, preferring to hide his true trump cards for future battles. Driven by blind confidence and the absolute certainty that even his restricted and suppressed energy was entirely sufficient to immortalize his name as the first in the Academy's history, the data analysis process began as the device's complex algorithms processed the leader's formidable energy with extreme precision to display the final result. The observer's bewilderment occurred as he was shocked by the reading of the unique and anomalous color spectrum of Guang's energy, which had never been seen before. The screen flashed with a legendary result, announcing his reaching the upper tier of rank D, with terrifying future potential touching the ceiling of rank S. An explosion of the field occurred. A mass hysteria swept the arena, celebrating the leader combining present strength with a future of rank S, which is considered a form of the impossible. The entourage's celebration began, as Zhang and the rest of his followers cheered with euphoria and pride for their master, who had just shattered all the Academy's records. While a comrade's paralysis struck everyone, Ma Long and his colleagues froze in their place from shock, completely unable to comprehend this overwhelming historical achievement. An academic alert was announced. Senior staff hurried to submit urgent reports to the High Command, considering the young leader a rare national treasure that must be protected by all means, granting him doubled influence, especially with the constant reminder of him being the legitimate and sole heir to the dominant Empire Guild.
This served as a media earthquake. It was certain that the result of this assessment would headline every national news agency before tomorrow's dawn. From a high observation point, the duo watched with admiration mixed with suspicion the unprecedented emergence of multiple extraordinary talents in a single batch. The dean's question was raised, as Yuan Long asked the official Ling Yu if her personal presence today was due to her prior knowledge of Guang's true power. She replied with a flat denial, as the official coldly confirmed that she did not carve out her time and attend merely to applaud the achievements of this young leader.
She showed a hidden intention. A mysterious smile appeared on her lips, revealing another secret purpose she considered far more important than the leader himself. The true goal was, the official's curiosity was entirely and passionately focused on seeing the performance of this forgotten student, Chen. Finally, the awaited call came, as the loudspeaker boomed with the name of Si Chen, the student residing in the shadows whom no one had paid any attention to. Yang greeted him with preemptive contempt, attacking the hero with biting words, warning him against causing a new and humiliating scandal for their room. He issued an insulting warning, considering that Chen's inevitable failure would serve as the final crowning of their room as the biggest pathetic joke in the Academy's history. With ugly arrogance, the leader continued his boasting that this pack of outcasts and weaklings bring nothing but shame to the prestigious academy. Here, the comrade's defense emerged, as Ma Long roared angrily in the face of the conceited one, demanding he swallow his words and wait for the silencing result. He had a blind certainty, absolute and total confidence that his friend's energy, which he saw with his own eyes, would inevitably blow the minds of these doubters. Meanwhile, tension and doubt prevailed, clear anxiety among the rest of the comrades, and their silent skepticism regarding the actual result expected from this mad challenge. With confident steps, he moved with icy steps. Chen stepped into the closed booth and advanced with complete coldness towards the assessment device. The machine's terror occurred. In an impossible phenomenon, the demonic heart device seemed to actually tremble and shrink in fear as soon as it sensed the hero's destructive aura. He began gathering energy as Chen took a strict attack stance, ready to discharge all his restored demonic power into this device. Accompanied by a logical analysis, for the hero realized perfectly that proving his power to join the great guilds is the only survival gate for any awakened. This arena was the theater of merit, and the definitive certainty that this final assessment is the golden and only opportunity to seize recognition and prove absolute power before the entire world. A grand prize awaited the victors. The members of the first-place team would be recruited immediately and directly into the ranks of the great Empire Guild. Here, a hidden purpose was revealed. This power test was not just a hollow display of ranks, but a crucial preliminary step to sort alliances and form the strongest combat teams. Polarization began. The leader Zhang hurried to include the new awakened Lin, who had just obtained rank D, into the ranks of his powerful Master's Alliance. They were overcome by premature ego, boasting about securing the crown of victory in advance after their amazing success in gathering 3 rank D awakened into one conquering team. Talent hunting was the true and greatest goal of this assessment, merging the elite and strongest elements in preparation for the final and deadly epic. Meanwhile, the weak were clearly rejected. Those with low classifications were isolated into fragile teams, becoming mere bloody offerings ready for the coming slaughter. In the meantime, increasing anxiety prevailed. Mao Long and his comrades' doubts escalated due to their friend's suspicious and worrying delay inside the testing booth. A silent black screen remained. There was no data or response from the giant scoreboard until this moment. Biting sarcasm arose. The crowds began to mock and laugh, believing the hero's energy was far too weak for the sensitive device to pick up. The leader directed a final contempt. He decided to leave with his complete team, looking down with disdain at all the outcasts remaining in the arena. He gave a signal to depart. The leader Guang motioned for his team to leave after this boring show for him had ended. Suddenly, a resounding surprise struck the arena. The screen glowed with a bright light, revealing the hero's numbers exactly as the gang turned to leave. It was a staggering digital shock. Chen's classification was clearly announced in the upper tier of rank D. Mass bewilderment occurred. The crowds and comrades refused to believe this impossible result glittering before their wide-open eyes. The victory cheer rose when Ma Long broke the silence with a mad shout of celebration, proud of his friend's hidden power that silenced everyone. The arrogance of the conceited was paralyzed. The shock froze the blood of the leader and their follower in their veins, completely silencing their arrogance before these numbers. But an emergency warning flashed. A red light filled the booth, announcing a malfunction in data stability and requesting the system to re-evaluate immediately. The hero realized it was mere raw power. His basic human body, devoid of activating any class energy, alone equaled the peak of rank D.
Here, he decided to raise the challenge. Chen calmly proceeded to activate one of his many combat classes to escalate the result and test the machine. He began with a simple initial activation, summoning the aura of the Hell Cloud King, which was merely the weakest class in his dark arsenal. A mad leap occurred. The screen jumped frantically to adjust the assessment suddenly, leaping from D to the middle tier of C. Double confusion prevailed. The crowds were shocked by this mad and sudden change in the automated assessment readings, which are never wrong. In a state of opponent's denial, Zhang screamed in panic at the top of his voice, justifying this result by the existence of a catastrophic failure in the Academy system. Academy terror spread. Senior staff froze in their places, certain of the collapse of the system's algorithms before this terrifying and unprecedented fluctuation. The machine began to suffocate. With repeated sirens, the demonic heart suffered and groaned under the weight of this formidable pressure. The hero made the decision to reveal. He decided to show his true, terrifying face to find his actual power ceiling and destroy any remaining doubts. He released the Absolute Curse. Chen unleashed the mighty Rakshas Star Purgatory class, letting his energy explode without restriction. The device began to crack. The solid demonic heart split forcefully, unable to absorb the massive flood of energy sweeping through it. A nightmarish aura emanated. The arena ceiling split under a dominant and dark purple energy, suffocating the breath of all present without exception. Fear gripped the enemies. Guang and his gang stared at the dark sky in absolute panic from this sudden hell that swallowed them. Everyone realized it was a new history. The comrades were witnessing today the birth of a true legendary entity emerging from the womb of their miserable and despised room. The probability screen drew a golden future. It struggled violently under the weight of the energy to display the amazing rank S. A second shock hit them. The observers' screams rose in terror at the appearance of another rank S legend on the same day and in the same place. Pride was crushed. The arrogance of leader Guang evaporated entirely, leaving him paralyzed and helpless before this terrifying display of absolute power. A red alert was launched. All screens turned the color of blood, releasing consecutive warning flashes of an imminent catastrophe that would sweep the place. A total collapse began, with the official announcement of the entire system falling and the giant machine beginning to shake violently, signaling an explosion. At the last moment, the screen uttered the impossible rank. The legendary SSS assessment appeared clearly before the system completely collapsed for exceeding its maximum capacity. The arena witnessed the collapse of officials. One of the senior academy staff fell to his knees in weakness, screaming from the horror of what he saw with his own eyes. Suddenly, a resounding explosion occurred. The glass assessment booth shattered and its shards scattered, turning in a single second into a flaming pile of ruin. Staff panic prevailed. There was a mad rush by the professors to retrieve Chen's body, amidst hysterical screams warning of the melting of the machine's magical core. Smoke intrusion began, in a panicked and desperate search through the flaming rubble, hoping to find any pulse proving the hero remained alive. With the clearing of the thick dust, the catastrophic scene began to clarify very slowly before the chief observer's terrified eyes. The observer's finishing shock hit him when he saw the legendary demonic heart turned into a mere fragile gray shell, completely drained of any energy. One of the observers hurried to provide a flimsy justification, explaining the sudden burning of the device by its wear and age due to continuous and intensive use by thousands of students. But there was a silent realization. Chen was fully aware that he was the true cause of devouring the machine's heart following the momentary release of his terrifying energy. Reaching a terrifying certainty by discovering that his forbidden ability, Absolute Devour, is capable of devouring and absorbing the energy of machines and inanimate objects as well. In a scene resembling an angelic exit, Chen left the flaming wreckage with calm steps, completely safe and without a single scratch touching him. He decided on a test of insight. The hero quietly activated a new visual ability to test the limits of his piercing vision amidst this stunned field. Superhuman vision was granted to him as the Star Purgatory Eye enabled him to penetrate auras and read the hidden ranks and actual levels of everyone present with precision. He realized it would serve as a secret weapon, that this piercing insight would penetrate the darkest plots of tyrants, guiding him like a compass in this false world. Here, the leader's secret was exposed. The insight showed Chen that Guangsheng was suppressing within him a massive energy far exceeding what he had displayed moments ago. A suspension of assessment was announced. The Academy administration was forced to stop the rest of the tests immediately, raising the white flag before this sudden ruin. Official censorship was practiced, as it was announced over the speakers that the hero's mythical result was merely a technical glitch in the device, and the assessment was postponed until the following day. But this did not prevent the comrades' celebration, as Ma Long and his bang ignored these flimsy justifications and began celebrating madly the brilliance and hidden power of their friend. A rude accusation interrupted them as the follower Zhang Jian stepped forward, shouting angrily, accusing the hero of intentionally sabotaging the measurement device to hide his true weakness. The follower's anger exploded, expressing extreme resentment at wasting his master's precious time in the student council because of this trivial incident. Chen reached the end of his patience. Blue lightning sparks began to dance hiddenly between his fingers, preparing to strike and silence this annoying leader. The intent to crush manifested in him. The hero thought with cold seriousness of annihilating this bully right here and now to relieve the entire world of his hollowed shatter. Suddenly, the leader's intervention occurred. Guangshen stepped forward to stop his follower with a gesture of his hand, describing the hero as the mysterious new colleague in their team. This was the follower's jolt. Zhang froze in his place in a state of total bewilderment and disbelief at his master's unexpected declaration. It was a booby-trapped invitation, in which the leader presented a diplomatic and cunning offer to officially join Chen to his elite team in the final assessment test. And he tempted him with promises of the summit, confirming that they would be able together to sweep all records and top the Academy's hierarchy undisputed if they united their forces. The comrade's surprise prevailed. The eyes of the hero's friends widened in amazement at his receipt of a personal and direct invitation from the strongest and most influential leader. A burning malice ignited in Zhang's chest, for his anger stemmed from his realization that including this hero would inevitably cost the expulsion of another member from their complete team. He was driven by blind jealousy. The follower deeply resented that the free and precious elite seat was granted to an outcast student residing at the bottom of the academy. But he showed total submission, surrendering completely to his master's absolute will and realizing with bitterness his true position as a mere pawn being moved on a chessboard. With a fake smile, the follower swallowed his wounded pride, forcing himself to welcome the hero with a slight bow and a manufactured smile that almost tore. But a flat refusal came, as Chen shocked the entire arena by kicking the leader's golden invitation away with extreme coldness and without a single shred of hesitation. Mental paralysis struck everyone. The follower Zhang was completely unable to speak or move before the horror of this insulting slap delivered to his master publicly. They witnessed the cracking of ego. The leader's fake calmness collapsed to be replaced with a dark and gloomy look as he struggled to comprehend this insolent rebellion. He delivered another icy slap as Chen silenced the followers' anger with total coldness and a provocative disregard for all their influence and status they bragged about. He issued a final warning, alerting them in a tone that made the skin crawl not to cross his path again before turning his back coldly in preparation to leave. The withdrawal began. Chen left the arena with confident steps accompanied by his stunned friend Ma Long, leaving the follower behind him burning with the fire of his helpless malice. Terrified whispers arose. The crowds were left in a state of shock, whispering in fear about the madness of this mysterious boy who dared to insult the most powerful council leader.
And after his refusal to join the leader's team, the arena turned into a theater of speculations. A student whispered to his colleague, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Did you see that icy refusal? Si Chen must be targeting the first place for himself. Everyone was expecting exciting drama, and here it begins." While a female student laughed gloatingly from afar, whispering to her friend, "Did you see the faces of Guang's gang and the bullies? Oh, the embarrassment. They thought they were the masters of the hall." Her friend nodded in admiration. "Our hero was really very brave to stand up to them like that." Following that, a follower shouted with intense anger and emotion beside his leader, "Damn him! How dare this scum insult you in front of everyone?" The leader replied, calming his follower with total coldness, "It's fine. It seems the boy has his own plans. Let him be for now." Based on this frightening calmness from the leader, the gathered students began to slowly disperse from the university courtyard as each team withdrew to discuss their plans. On the administration balcony overlooking the courtyard, the director struck the balcony's edge with deep sorrow. "What a loss. The opportunity for a historical alliance is gone. I was hoping they would form a team to set a new, unbeatable record for the school." The vice president stood beside him, smiling with coldness and cunning as she watched the hero from afar. "Do not grieve, Director. With this sudden turn of events and his refusal to join, things have become much more interesting than we expected," explaining to the director in a malicious, analytical tone. For someone with the ego and influence of Wang Ting, that public refusal wasn't merely a tactical choice, it was a blatant declaration of war on his pride, concluding her words with a warning and confident look. "And we all know that the council president is not someone to be played with or insulted without consequences." In a far corner of the courtyard, the follower slammed his fist into his palm with continuous rage. "He's only arrogant because of a passing error in the power test, and he really believes he's rank C?" In a far corner of the courtyard, the leader stared into the horizon with a cold, deadly look. And what if the test wasn't wrong? I swear, even if it's true and he really possesses that power, I won't let anyone take the first place from me." His follower smiled maliciously, flattering him. "Boss, he's just an inexperienced novice while we train in secret. Why don't I teach him a harsh lesson on your behalf so he knows his true place?" But the leader turned to shoot him a deadly look that pierced his soul and froze him in place. "Do I look like someone so base and petty that I'd send someone to beat up an outcast student?" The follower trembled and stepped back in panic. "No, I didn't mean that. Slip of the tongue, boss." Then the leader turned and left with coldness and boredom. "My mood is ruined by this nonsense. I'll leave alone." Pausing for a moment, he glared at his follower over his shoulder with a sharp, underlying look. "And whatever stupidity you commit after I leave, I have absolutely nothing to do with it." At this point, the follower noticed that strange tone a bit, and his thoughts paused for a moment, processing the words in his mind. His eyes widened in understanding, and he smiled a demonic smile after catching the underlying green light, bowing with fake respect. "Heh, I fully understand your message, boss. You have nothing to do with it at all." Just 10 minutes after plotting the scheme, one of the followers ran, panting toward his senior follower. "Boss Shan, I just watched him. Si Chan has already left the school." Catching his breath and eagerly explaining. "I heard him say he's going home, and he left the campus quickly without even eating in the dorm cafeteria." The senior follower crushed an empty soda can under his foot, smiling with malice and euphoria. "Even luck and heavens are on my side to present him as easy prey." Adding with an evil smile and eyes gleaming with revenge. "Outside the school walls, everything is permitted, and I can deal with this boy and crush him without any consequences from the administration." Meanwhile, our hero was walking in complete calmness, unaware of the cheap bully's plot to trap him in the dark alleys, as he walked in a nearby street, completely lost in his thoughts. These bullies are nothing but insects compared to what's coming. His heart squeezing in secret as he remembered the destruction of the future. "In the past I lived, an elite guild of the strongest found a powerful, nightmarish demon while on a routine raid mission in the Holy Lands." Continuing to remember the terrifying details with a shudder. He was called the Emperor Wrath, and before they realized the magnitude of the disaster, the monster annihilated the elite team and the entire guild in the blink of an eye, clenching his fist with strength and sorrow. And since that ominous day, the monster emerged from its rift and began destroying and burning the human world, his eyes igniting with invincible resolve. And to find the lair of this creature before its emergence, I finally devised an infallible, tight plan. But to execute my plan and abort his appearance, I first need a massive amount of money to start. Based on this plan, he headed directly and with confident steps to the Grand Methyl Monster Exchange, looking closely at the luxurious building before him. Here is the largest center and auction for selling materials and equipment in the future. Realizing in secret the importance of his step, I know very well that weapons and equipment are extremely important and make the difference between life and death for the awakened, and this place is my best bet for gathering wealth. Inside the exchange, he stood before the appraisal counter, emptying a pile of ivory fangs. With a sharp voice, "I want this batch appraised and sold." The expert appraiser stared at the pile with bulging eyes, then looked at him with disdain. "You're just a university student. Where did you get an item like this?" He replied with total coldness and indifference, pointing to the pile. "A monster dropped them after I killed it." While the appraiser remained confused, having never seen the likes of it, the young female employee approached and recognized them immediately with professional enthusiasm. "These fangs aren't ordinary. They're the fangs of the sanguine monster." Completing her explanation with obvious eagerness. "It's the rank A cloud monster. They can be melted to craft rare weapons, or ground to—" But the arrogant appraiser interrupted her with disgust and rudeness. All right, I get it. Rank A items are useless to me. I'm only dealing with rank D items and above, and I'm not obligated to know this junk." Bitterly complaining to himself about his luck. "Damn this day. The good and wealthy customers have completely disappeared." Continuing his internal grumbling with sorrow. "At this rate, the promotion I'm waiting for is still very far out of reach." Turning to the young employee, deciding to leave it to her. "Take this transaction, rookie. You handle everything concerning this student," and turned his back to leave arrogantly. Moments after completing the transaction, the employee handed him a heavy bag of money with a polite smile. "Here you go, sir. Do you need anything else?" He checked the bag to see he had received $18,000, thinking with relief. This amount is barely enough to cover the overdue rent for now and get by. Then he looked at the employee with confidence. "Yes, I have something else I want appraised." Suddenly, his right hand began to glow with a mysterious gleam. From the midst of the glowing void, he summoned a giant demonic sword, pulsing with an extremely powerful and evil purple aura that suffocated the breath. The employee's jaw dropped and her eyes widened in total bewilderment before the stunning weapon. "Oh my God! What an amazing sword!" Thinking with absolute fascination as she contemplated it. Even without having seen a weapon like this before, its suffocating aura confirms it must be at least rank B, or perhaps A. The appraiser suddenly returned after feeling the energy, laughing with biting sarcasm. Rank A. Rank A weapons cost millions. I've worked here for years and haven't seen one in my life, and this weapon is definitely not one of them. Suddenly, a man with blue hair and a piercing look appeared, interrupting with a calm and measured voice. "You are right. This weapon is not rank B or A." The appraiser jumped, cheaply flattering his boss. "My boss truly has a piercing eye. I just told her, what valuable things could a poor student like this bring, other than junk?" But the boss revealed the surprise, ignoring the appraiser, looking at the sword in absolute bewilderment and a voice trembling with awe. This weapon was forged in the deep lands of Purgatory. It's an artifact from the legendary Rank S equipment. The declaration shocked everyone, and the duo froze from the sheer shock while the appraiser screamed. "Impossible! Rank S?" The boss stepped forward, ignoring their bewilderment, shaking his hand with exaggerated warmth and enthusiasm. "We are very honored to have you in our exchange, sir. I welcome you as our very special guest." Gesturing with extreme respect, inviting him inside. "Please, come with me to the VIP room. Any request of yours will be fulfilled immediately." He walked behind him, smiling a faint and confident smile inwardly. He swallowed the bait completely. The man has finally appeared, exactly as I planned, his eyes shining with malicious triumph to assure himself. It turns out that man's name is Chen, the leader of the Methyl Guild, and he is the first essential piece in my grand plans. Chen and the Methyl Guild president, Chen Jai, stepped away from prying eyes into the luxurious and quiet VIP room, where the president sat, his eyes fixed on the legendary sword resting on the table. "Sir, this weapon defies description. May I ask what amount you are requesting in exchange for relinquishing this unique piece and your equipment?" Answering with complete confidence and coldness. 1 million. The president's eyes widened in obvious bewilderment, his composure completely shattering before this figure that underestimated the value. Leaning forward enthusiastically, he spoke. "Do you realize that rank A weapons sell for millions, while this rank S piece will ignite madness and a war in the market? Its value could easily exceed 10 million and will cause utter chaos." Sipping his coffee with absolute steadiness, he replied, "I never intend to sell it. I want to use this rank S weapon as collateral for a $1 million loan. I will repay the full amount after exactly 1 month. The president found the idea strange in secret, beginning to analyze the situation. Pawning a legendary weapon for a paltry sum? This complex planning is far from the mind of a simple university student. Continuing to think with hidden admiration, this young man realizes his foresight and plans to retrieve his sword shrewdly. He truly possesses wisdom far beyond his years, as his eyes shined with wild curiosity about the origin of this client. Is he the scion of a rebellious wealthy family, or a genius hiding his true power from the world? Whatever the case, this young man is not ordinary at all. Certain that he was facing an exceptional person, with calculated steps, while his guest continued to sip his coffee calmly and confidently. Setting his cup down, he pledged firmly, "I will repay the original loan amount in full after exactly 1 month, with 10% interest the following month. What do you say?" Turning to the female employee, he dismissed her to ensure the complete secrecy of the negotiation. "Xiaoli, could you leave us alone for a minute?" After her departure, the president decided to reveal his cards and conclusions, smiling smartly and cunningly while staring at his guest. "Sir, let me analyze your exact situation." Leaning back in his chair, he continued, "If I'm not mistaken, you study at the National Awakened University and are in your final year, graduating soon." Narrowing his eyes with a sly smile. "To my knowledge, the annual graduation exam will be held exactly 1 month, and the first place prize is 1 million, which entirely matches the loan amount and repayment date you suggested." Nodding his head, hinting at a deep understanding. "It seems you have absolute confidence that you will snatch first place in this difficult exam." Concluding his analysis with a piercing look. Resorting to pawning such a valuable item as collateral means conclusive proof of one thing: you are going through a stifling and sudden financial crisis. Confirming confidently, and you found no solution but this bold step as a last resort to provide immediate liquidity to deal with this emergent circumstance. After brief thought and facing his guest's total silence, he decided to take an unexpected step that turned the tables in his favor. Leaning forward, he offered confidently,
If that's the case, I will lend you and give you $1.5 million in cash immediately with total exemption from interest for the entire month. Justifying his generous offer seriously. Consider this a token of friendship. I wish to build solid bridges of trust and a friendship with you, not just a passing deal that ends today. Raising an eyebrow in hidden surprise inwardly. This sudden generosity is unexpected. While the president confirmed his commitment to the absolute secrecy of the meeting, tactfully stating his only condition. I will only ask that you give our exchange priority and make it your first choice in your future dealings, and I will guarantee you major discounts. Exchanging looks with him in silent admiration inwardly. He deduced my identity and goals from simple information, and instead of exploiting my crisis, he offered a deal that intelligently and foresightedly builds a long-term strategic partnership. Continuing his thoughts and future expectations. No wonder, this man will make the methyl market the largest globally in the future thanks to his ambition. Then he extended his hand and accepted the offer, shaking his hand, realizing inwardly. To defeat the tyrant Wrath, I will definitely need powerful and smart allies like him.
To add definitive formality, the guild president hastened to document what is known as the binding rock contract for both parties. The bank transfer notification arrived on his device. 1,500,000. The agreed-upon funds were immediately transferred to his account. Expressing his professional concern, the president spoke. "But sir, if you pawn this legendary weapon here, what will you fight with in the graduation exam?" Offering help. "I can lend you alternative rank A or B gear and equipment if you wish to facilitate your task." Turning calmly, thanking him, and smiling confidently. "Thank you, but there's no need for that." Suddenly, his hand glowed again. Internally, speaking with supreme, terrifying, and unshakable arrogance. "I have another weapon, no less powerful or rare than the one I just left." Surprising them by summoning the second legendary Raksha-class sword. The president and the employees froze from profound shock that this mysterious young man possessed 2 pieces of this terrifying legendary level. Meanwhile, he headed to leave with steady steps, leaving behind a silent bewilderment enveloping the place. Whispering in bewilderment, the president turned to the employee. "Xiao Li, for your excellent handling and service to this exceptional client, you are promoted to the position of supervisor immediately." While his arrogant appraiser colleague lamented the loss of this golden opportunity, he suddenly stopped before exiting the gate and turned gently. "By the way, I would like to purchase an additional item before leaving the exchange." After completing the purchase, he took a taxi heading to his next destination, towards the unknown. Upon his arrival at the Longchang long-distance bus station, and while he was waiting, harsh memories of his past suffering with extreme poverty swept over him like merciless, violent waves, his heart squeezing inwardly as the memories gnawed at his mind. I remembered my graduation days before I awakened, and how I worked arduous jobs after the guild's continuous rejection of me. Drowning in his sorrow, remembering the hardship, we struggled to provide the minimum for living and to pay the rent. Sighing bitterly, my sister Sion and I lived an austere and miserable life. And he remembered that painful moment when his sister was accepted into the prestigious International Fine Arts Academy, and how her dream dissipated. With a sorrow squeezing his soul, he recalled her scene, saying, "I remember how she tore up the acceptance letter under the pretext of not wanting to move away from me," continuing his hidden pain inwardly. But I later learned that her true motive was to avoid burdening me with additional financial loads and abandoning the dream of her life. Until he snapped out of his reverie belatedly and looked at his watch in panic. "Damn it, I'm late for my sister's probable arrival time." Suddenly, a familiar call interrupted him, piercing his ears and transporting him through time. Shouting sharply from behind him, she scolded him.
"Big brother, how many times have I told you that waiting is at the exit, not the entrance? Why are you standing like an idiot?"
Complaining while dragging her heavy suitcase.
"You never focus."
He stared at her slowly in total bewilderment, his eyes widening as he felt the weight of 7 years of long separation in her face brimming with life.
"Come and help me carry the luggage, instead of standing frozen like that."
Instead of replying, he rushed to hug him with massive force and extreme emotion that almost broke her ribs from the intensity of his longing. She froze, surprised and shocked by his exaggerated and unusual reaction, unaware of the magnitude of the tragedy, and thinking to herself. She didn't realize that this hug compensated for the separation of 7 harsh years in past lives and certain death. The emotional moment ended very quickly, and she pushed her brother, annoyed and joking.
"Hey, are you trying to choke me to death at the station?"
Throwing her bag at him with an inquiring smile.
"Why are you acting weird lately? Did you get a romantic rejection or what?"
He denied with confusion and a tearful smile. No, nothing like that.
Urging him to return and enthusiastically recounting.
Let's go home. The exam was crazy, and I faced some funny situations. Let me tell you everything.
He watched her as she spoke with deep happiness and gratitude, filling his thirsty heart, and secretly promised himself with an irrevocable bloody oath.
In this life, I will not allow any force or entity on earth to strip you of your happiness or make you suffer again.
In a dark corner of a gloomy alley, Zhang Jin and his gang hid with their weapons, lurking like shadows of death. Pointing towards the path, he coldly ordered his men. This is the path he usually takes. Hide, and as soon as he appears, we will pounce on him. Pressing on his blade, glares of evil flying from his eyes, he vowed with deadly malice. I will make him taste the bitterness of revenge and make him pay a very high price for provoking me. Meanwhile, a follower whispered with anxiety, trying to dissuade his leader from recklessness. Boss Zhang Jin, isn't it dangerous for us student council members to be involved in this assault? What if we get exposed? He silenced him with a fiery glare, declaring his intent for total destruction. Damn that. I only intended to discipline him, but for an F-rank scum student to overstep and act like he belongs to the S-rank, it disgusts me. Recalling his previous words with bitterness and insult, and mocking his voice with biting sarcasm. You're annoying. Shut up and don't speak to me again. How dare he? His anger finally exploded as he ordered his men strictly. Step aside. I will crush him personally and break his bones until I deny him the chance to attend the graduation ceremony. He then drew his dagger with absolute coldness and showcased his aura boastfully. I am the best assassin of the Cloud class in the Institute. Just wait, you trash.
The scene returned to the siblings, immersed in a relatively calm atmosphere. She looked at him with spontaneous apprehension, asking with playful malice.
Big brother, you've been acting strangely for 2 days. Are you nervous about the graduation exams? A simple person like you doesn't usually get carried away by emotions like this.
Reminding him of his words with a bright smile.
Didn't you used to say, believe in yourself, for opportunities will come sooner or later? Where did those tips go?
Her gentle words formed a lifeline for his troubled soul. As soon as they entered a narrow alley, she began humming her favorite song freely, ignoring the world.
A wonderful star launches across the galaxy.
While he listened to her silently and warmly, he drifted into his thoughts, admiring her innate intelligence. Scion is very smart. She noticed my change immediately, but she still ignores the truth of my awakening and thinks we are still struggling with poverty. He patted her head to reassure her with warm calmness. I promise, I'm fine, Scion. But she considered it a masculine denial born of pride, concluding with hidden irony in her heart based on her readings.
He's still denying it. As I read, men build emotional walls as they mature. Looks like my brother has finally grown up.
The siblings delved into the alley, seemingly oblivious to the hidden surveillance following their steps with extreme caution. A masked follower whispered from the dense shadows. Boss, the target is accompanied by a girl. He smiled with deadly malice, expressing his joy at this luck. This is perfect. The alley is completely free of cameras. It is our perfect stage today. Despite his apparent calm next to his sister, he sensed the incoming danger and the hostile glares with clarity that tore through the silence, whispering to himself, without changing his cold features, creeping killing intent and hostile energy approaching. A cold anger ignited in his chest upon realizing their identity. Student council members, what audacity to follow me to my safe haven. He pulled his earbuds from his pocket with deadly calmness, without slowing his steady pace. He placed the earbuds very gently on her ears to isolate her from the impending massacre, saying, "Here, listen to this," justifying his action with a calm, reassuring smile. "I've been addicted to this song lately." She blinked in surprise at his newfound interest. "Since when do you care about music?" But she gave in to her curiosity and adjusted the earbuds innocently. "All right, maybe music will help me understand your strange psychological state."
At that moment, he committed to deliberate silence and stopped walking like a statue of ice. He turned slowly backward with a cold, non-human gaze scanning the dark alley. It's time for cleaning. Activating his investigative ability in secret at lightning speed. Instant level analysis. Rank E and Rank D. Meanwhile, she was completely isolated in the pure world of music, drowning in unprecedented musical tranquility that separated her from her surroundings. Then the team began their hostile and coordinated movement within the dark alley, advancing one after another and drawing their weapons, in blind response to their lurking leader's orders. He recalled his tragedy in secret with calmness and resolve. In the year 2060, I lost my family, and I wasn't granted the chance to return until 2067 to meet my sister. This reunion after 7 years of hell. Thunder energy gathered around him, and violent lightning bolts exploded, announcing his raging anger. How dare you come and pollute this holy moment? The team lunged all at once, screaming bloodthirstily, but he vanished in a lightning flash to appear among them with supernatural speed before they touched the ground, delivering a resounding and lightning-fast kick that could not be blocked in any way. The kick sent one attacker flying high into the air and shattered his ribs with a clearly audible sound, which froze the rest of the opponents in their places, completely unable to comprehend the horror of the scene, while she continued humming behind him in deep peace, ignoring the battle taking place. A star launches in the night sky. He clenched his hand wrapped in dancing lightning without any pause or hesitation for a moment and swept like a destructive storm toward the closest man to him, screaming coldly, "I will crush you all." Opponents fell one after another like weak autumn leaves under the barrage of his crushing blows, precise as a machine, as the first fell, followed by the second, then the third in the blink of an eye, and blood splattered everywhere, painting a portrait of death. The attackers were completely unable to resist or show any ability to respond. A desperate attacker attempted to throw a stray punch from behind, shouting in collapse, "Take this!" He caught his hand with an iron grip, solid as a shackle, without even turning to see him, pressing with crushing force to shatter his bones with a lightning strike, emitting a horrifying cracking sound. "Ah, my arm!" He followed it with a violent and terrifying punch that landed directly and harshly on the shattered face. The punch sent the attacker flying away like a rag doll, and he slammed with extreme cruelty against the stone wall of the alley, prompting his leader to retreat in terror, reeling from the bloody scene that unfolded before him like a curse. He broke out in cold sweat, wondering in bewilderment, with a trembling voice. What the hell is this? Where did this horror come from? Staring with wide eyes, unable to grasp the reality of the superpower before him. How can trash be this strong? His confidence and arrogance evaporated completely into thin air, and a paralyzing fear took hold, shackling his trembling limbs. He screamed with a voice trembling in terror, trying to gather his broken and scattered courage. "Don't come closer!" Summoning his meager energy and claiming power in desperation. "I am the best assassin of the Cloud class. I will not be defeated." Launching a final attack with desperation and recklessness, pushing all his remaining energy toward him. But he didn't blink, and with a single brutal strike, he crushed him, completely smashing his face and blocking his attack. The knockout blow sent him high into the air, losing his balance and all his senses. And before his defeated body, heavy with wounds, hit the harsh ground, he followed him like a ghost and delivered another, more brutal and fierce aerial strike. The strike shattered what remained of his teeth, and blood sprayed from his mouth like scattered rain in the alley, finally falling to the ground like a lifeless corpse, unable to move or utter a single letter. While he stood over him like a ruthless tyrant, with eyes glowing with terrifying demonic redness and silent contemplation, reminding him with cold, icy breath of his previous warning.
"I warned you earlier about bothering me."
Asking him with a sharp gaze, declaring his anger had reached its unbearable limit.
"Which part of that simple warning was too difficult for your stupid mind to understand?"
In the dark alley, nothing remained of the bully gang leader's arrogance but debris. He sat weakly leaning against the stone wall, weeping bitterly and coughing up copious amounts of blood, his bones completely shattered.
"My ribs, all of them are shattered. My legs, they're paralyzed. His rank assessment, it was real. He is absolutely not rank D. Ugh, I'm so sorry."
Engaging in a humiliating crying and apologizing, begging for survival after his courage vanished, while he advanced with steady steps, grabbing him violently by his collar to raise his blood-stained face.
"Shut up completely. If you make a single sound from now on, I will kill you here and bury you in this place."
Threatening him with death with a coldness that made breaths freeze. Then he drew his electrified blade, pressing his sharp knife against his opponent's face with terrifying gentleness.
"I want you to look closely into my eyes."
Instilling indescribable terror in the tyrant's soul, making his body tremble. He contemplated the blue light reflected in his icy pupils, trembling in absolute terror inwardly.
His eyes do not lie. He will truly kill me without blinking an eye. How can a miserable university student possess such a terrifying, nightmarish killing intent? What the hell has this monster faced in his life to be this cold?
He pulled the blade away slightly, looking at his collapsed opponent with a gaze completely devoid of humanity. "Listen to me well, and engrave every letter my tongue will say now into your miserable, weak memory." Continuing in a tone dripping with threat and death. "Scum like you and your followers are worthless to me, and I can dispose of you and erase you from existence easily, as if you never were." Pressing his other hand on the wound with extreme cruelty. "Cut off any thought or dream of bothering him again, and I warn you against the consequences of approaching my younger sister or following her steps." Whispering with a voice like death touching his opponent's vein. Any appearance of your men or you before her again means liquidating you finally and with no return. I will make you disappear one by one, forever. Do you understand? He nodded his head in mad hysteria, shedding tears and saliva. Yes, I understand. I swear I understand. Drowning in his final humiliating tears, he left his opponent to fall to the ground, drowning in the blood of his collapse and loss of consciousness, and turned, walking away with a coldness that pierced the silence of the alley toward the unknown.
Far from the smell of blood and iron, she was waiting, wiping a warm tear that suddenly fell while she was listening to the song. Why does this song make me feel a mysterious loneliness and intense isolation? Looking toward the horizon with deep emotion, thinking to herself. Only a few days have passed since our reunion after my absence, but the sudden change in my brother's behavior makes me feel as if he has lived an eternity of suffering and pain away from me. Sighing with deep sorrow, saying, I am overcome with sadness, feeling his deep, mysterious loneliness, despite my constant closeness to him, and my attempt to stay by his side to protect him. As soon as he saw him approaching, she initiated with gentleness and tearful joking, putting her hands on her hips. Brother, are you trying to use this gloomy song as a way to elicit sympathy like this? But he interrupted her by presenting an elegant small box bearing a luxurious logo, which struck her with complete bewilderment, tying her tongue and freezing her words. He smiled with brotherly warmth, extending his hand with the box. I got this for you, Scion. This gift was picked especially for you. The moment she opened the box, her eyes widened in absolute shock. Oh my God, is this the Dragon Model 3D Magic Pen? But it costs more than $10,000. Where did you get its expensive price? Did you rob a bank? Happiness flooded his heart seeing her bright features, whispering inwardly, his eyes gleaming with an old sorrow. In my destroyed past life of the year 2060, I stood helplessly and miserably unable to protect you, or achieve your simple dreams, before I lost you. She tried to return the box with hesitation and fear. It's very expensive, brother, and I don't like it that much. Maybe we should return it and save the money. While he secretly pledged to himself to provide all means of happiness for her, putting his hand, stained with the gang's blood, behind him so as not to ruin her innocent moment, speaking in a reassuring tone. As long as you like it, that is completely enough. Don't think about the money. Meanwhile, the gang in the back alley were groaning weakly in a pitiful state, paying the price for their recklessness and empty arrogance.
Then they returned to their modest little home, and she began trying her new magic pen with overwhelming childish enthusiasm filling the place. She skillfully drew an illuminated holographic fish swimming in the air, laughing and jumping with joy.
Wow! I can't believe the precision of this pen, and its actual work is this amazing! It's exactly like magic!
While he sat at the wooden table eating egg noodles with gratitude. As long as I see this smile on your face, this is my sole purpose in the world, and the egg noodles you make with your hand are undisputedly the best.
But she stopped playing and looked at him with financial concern.
But brother, we still have to pay the accumulated rent expenses, and you are squandering money like this, with unbelievable generosity suddenly.
He smiled with complete confidence appearing on his features. Don't worry about that at all. I paid the rent for the whole year. At dawn today, she was stunned by the shock of the massive amount transferred to the landlord. He continued eating his food with feigned coldness to hide the truth. I made the money from a small project and a private investment I started with an old friend of ours, and we made some quick profits. She stared directly into his eyes, realizing the truth inwardly.
My brother is very bad at lying. His features expose him clearly, and I am absolutely certain he is hiding many big secrets, but I won't care.
Contemplating his comfortably relaxed features, sensing happiness.
I sensed a true and deep happiness pulsing on his face now, which I haven't seen on his face for many long years.
She noticed a warmth and sincerity in his current smile that was completely different from all the gloomy sadness and fears that preceded this day. Deciding to stop questioning him, she approached him affectionately and simply placed her warm hand on his shoulder.
All right, I'll believe you this time.
Advising him with extreme gentleness and compassion.
Whatever the size of this project, just don't exhaust yourself too much. I don't want to see you in pain.
He exchanged the smile with gratitude and warmth that washed away all the blood accumulations that ran in the alley hours ago to begin a new phase of confrontations.
In the Great Student Council Hall, urgent official news arrived as a member stood holding the medical report with fear. The report has arrived. Zhang Jin suffered severe fractures involving 60% of the bones in his body. In continuing with wonder and astonishment, the doctors completely ruled out his recovery or ability to move before a full month passes. Who would have thought a rank E student possessed this audacity to challenge and crush our men? The president of the student council and the one with the greatest power and the final say was the next speaker in this emergency session, while the vice president of the council sat on the luxurious sofa sipping her drink with indifference and disregard. His absence from the upcoming graduation exam doesn't matter. Zhang Jin was just a boastful insect. He put down his coffee cup with dismissive coldness, his eyes radiating an icy light. My team has become stronger and faster without these weaklings and deadweights hindering our ascent to the top. At that moment, the massive wooden door opened, and the recruitment services director at the National University and the council president's uncle joined the place. He advanced with serious features and a tone full of malice. You are mistaken if you underestimate the matter, Guangting. I will seriously warn you of the threat of this boy, Si Qin. Opening a secret electronic file and explaining. I personally examined the results of the hidden rank assessment, and the records confirmed that Si Qin is the only student in this entire batch who actually outranks you. His pupils widened slightly with a shock that caught his pride off guard. What? He outranks me? Shocked by discovering that his opponent's rank officially proven in the Magic Corps is C. His internal tension increased, knitting his brows with sharpness and anger at this information that shook his academic throne and his image. His uncle warned with extreme strictness. You cannot allow any nobody to steal the spotlight from you. Narrowing his eyes, thinking of precautionary solutions to prevent surprises. We must secure our position in any possible way and under any circumstance. Proposing his cunning backup plan. If things go wrong, I will intervene to include my niece Ling Yu in your team to ensure total crushing and close all loopholes. He interrupted him with an arrogant and terrifying smile, restoring confidence to his features. Uncle, you exaggerate your worry and fear of a nobody. Leaning back and asking disapprovingly. Do you really think I revealed my full true power or my cards in that superficial automated rank assessment? His eyes ignited with an oppressive light like an invincible tyrant. I swear before you, on the day of the practical combat exam in front of the Union officials, I will show everyone, and Si Qin, who is truly the strongest in this world. Displaying a terrifying, mad confidence in possessing skills and trump cards he hadn't revealed to any measurement system yet, to end the discussion in the room and pave the way for a bloody clash.
In the evening, he showered in his university dorm under the flowing warm water drops, recalling the achievements of his intense long day. He closed his eyes, analyzing his body comfortably. The strenuous physical training of carrying 100 kilograms was successful, and most importantly, my pressing financial crisis has been completely resolved. Drafting his post-graduation plan inwardly. I drew up my post-graduation plan and securing the million prize designated for first place, and I will use it to pay off the loan mortgage debts. Thinking about his future and strategic alliances. Adhering to the contract with Chen Jai and the Methyl Exchange is essential to serve my future interests and build major alliances. Then he clenched his fist with hellish resolve, vowing, less than a month remains, so I decided to raise my level additional times and develop my abilities before the exam date to be ready to annihilate Wrath. Closing his eyes completely, ready and prepared to connect and bracing to enter his holographic system in his isolation, the system announced its activation in his mind with a familiar mechanical voice. System initialization, starting gluttony system. He returned to the same digital space with a much deeper and more precise awareness and understanding than the previous time he entered it. Walking toward the virtual throne confidently, reviewing his overall assessment and his glowing updated statistics in the blue space before him, contemplating the data with total coldness and evaluating his reality. My weakest available class currently is Cloud King, and it is classified as rank C. His pupils widened slightly, seeing the second option. But the Raksha class surpassed the system's standard limits and sits at the legendary rank S, and I am still ignorant of the limits of its true power and how to fully assimilate it. Looking down with slight disappointment at the mystery of the rest. As for the remaining two classes in the Forbidden Archive, I acknowledge my total ignorance of their capabilities and features so far. Then he took a glowing item from his digital inventory and decided. The rank SSS Time Rift key. I will resolve to test the power of this mysterious key today. As soon as the tool was activated, a massive door similar to the nightmarish giant gate tearing the fabric of space with its darkness opened before him. Violent, black, and unstable energy waves flowed from it, making the gravity and air around him extremely heavy and suffocating. He advanced with a bold and steady step toward the heart of the dark gate without any retreat or an ounce of fear in his heart. Disappearing inside the dark flash, his eyes blazing with mad enthusiasm. The Tower of Darkness. I wonder what horrors and nightmarish scenes this place hides. I will devour them all.
As soon as Chen crossed the tower's threshold into the wastelands of the falling stars, he entered a world where the familiar laws of physics completely vanished, where his body was subjected to a massive and crushing pressure immediately upon his arrival, as if the air itself had suddenly turned into heavy lead.
Falling to his knees, he panted heavily with blood pouring from his nose. The gravity here is insane. My body is heavy, as if a mountain is pressing on my chest. Breathing with difficulty, he analyzed his environment with forced rationality. I can estimate this. The surface gravity in this place is equivalent to 10 times the normal gravity. Turning around in shock, he stared into the void. The door I entered through has disappeared. This means that opening the portal requires defeating the floor boss. But under these conditions, my power has dropped to only 30%. Gritting his teeth, he tried to stand up. I must quickly adapt to the new environment of this place before I am completely crushed under this weight.
Here, a terrifying roar pierced the silence as shadows gathered to form a terrifying entity. The rank B phantom lion monster had appeared, spreading a suffocating, oppressive aura. Summoning his interface with coldness and combat readiness. So you are my opponent here, a rank B monster. Let's begin. He immediately switched his class to the 10th level of the Lightning Assassin, causing lightning to emit from his body, marking the monster as his main target. He began his attack with chi, trying to launch himself like an electrified arrow, but his movement was unusually slow due to the crushing pressure. Biting his lips, he evaded the monster's counterattack with extreme difficulty. Damn, because I am not used to the hypergravity, I barely dodged that strike. So he charged his weapon with lightning to launch a swift attack to end the battle, hoping to relieve the burden on his body before a total collapse. Although he struck the monster's body, the system interface notified him of failing to achieve a vital hit or cause any significant paralysis. Analyzing the situation with disappointment and indignation. I missed? The high gravity weakened my speed and made me lose my attack accuracy completely. Receiving a strong counterstrike, he was thrown backwards in pain. It knocked me to the ground. The assassin class has become useless in these harsh conditions. Watching the monster's comfortable movement, he wondered to himself, while this monster moves with complete ease, does this silent power reflect the true level of the creatures of the Abyss Tower?
Facing a monster completely adapted to its environment, our hero realized that speed was no longer the solution. He unleashed a dense purple energy wave during the monster's attack. Here, the system announced the completion of his class transformation into Raksha, the Abyss Demon. Emitting a terrifying purple aura, he stood as firm as a mountain. If speed doesn't work, then I will face you with the strength of warriors. Clenching his fists, he sensed the flowing power. I will rely on the warrior class in close combat to take advantage of the massive strength and endurance bonuses it grants. Indeed, the effectiveness of the monster's attacks and powerful strikes vanished before the solidity of his new and devastating class. Smiling fiercely, he grabbed the monster to slam it to the ground with crushing force. If you like this high gravity, let me double it for you by exploiting the downward impact. Taking advantage of the harsh environment to make the crushing force reach its absolute peak in his decisive attack, delivering a devastating punch surrounded by the purple aura. On this floor, and with this weight, the power of my punch is multiplied 60 times due to the effect of gravity. A violent shock seized the monster, and the scene filled the battlefield with absolute awe and terror at the magnitude of the power. With eyes blazing with anger, he delivered his finishing blow. Die! A massive explosion destroyed the surrounding area following the activation of the 3-phase gravity disaster. Immediately after, he fell to the ground, afflicted with total exhaustion and unable to move due to the draining pressure. The monster was finally killed, and the system granted him 12,000 experience points as a reward for his arduous victory, which led to his direct promotion to the 11th level due to the massive gained experience points. Then he lay on his back and began evaluating his new abilities while struggling to catch his breath. Panting, his eyes focused on the system interface. I understand it now. Every star on my card acts as a multiplier for the base stats. Analyzing his data with inner satisfaction, I deduced that increasing the number of stars means gaining much greater power after a direct class transformation, confirming his new certainty to himself. This proves and confirms that the Raksha rank overwhelmingly outperforms the Lightning Assassin thanks to the number of stars. Marveling while looking at his exhausted body. But it's astonishing to completely drain my energy facing just one rank B monster. Getting confused and looking around searchingly. Wait, where is the Devour option? The monster disappeared without the Devour ability mark showing up after I eliminated it. Trying to stand up slowly, he searched the horizon. And why hasn't the portal leading to the next floor appeared? His confusion was cut short by the detection of a sudden movement that sparked his bewilderment and turned the atmosphere of the place upside down, as a new, giant gate opened unexpectedly and abruptly right behind his back, revealing countless hellish eyes that began watching him in an eerie, absolute silence from within. His eyes widening in absolute terror, his body stiffened. Don't tell me that the previous monster was just the beginning and that the floor boss hasn't appeared yet?
whispering in despair as he saw the shadows creeping. The monster I almost died to kill was just an ordinary monster. Suddenly, the monsters launched a violent collective attack, mercilessly gnawing at his body, leaving him in a miserable physical state in a matter of seconds. And only at that moment did he realize the true meaning of the Raksha class, closely tied to the unending pain he was promised as soon as the door opened. As the continuous attacks of the Phantom Lion's followers completely tore his body apart in moments of pure agony and unbearable pain, he became covered in blood, all simultaneously hearing a mysterious inner voice urging him to seize everything and endure this absolute pain to the very end.
Only to wake up abruptly in his dorm room, discovering that what happened in the tower was just a vivid and horrifying nightmare. His body was trembling violently, covered in cold sweat, with heavy panting, as if he had been running for centuries to escape death. Panting and clutching his chest in pain, his eyes bulged. The pain of my muscles tearing and my flesh separating from my bone, it felt unbearably real. Regaining his composure, with eyes filled with resolve and determination. There are no shortcuts. The path of the Abyss Tower is arduous, and I have only just begun my journey.
And so the scene shifted swiftly to the Great Hall of the National Awakened University on Friday the 20th of May in the year 2057, where teachers and students crowded into the hall amidst an atmosphere charged with intense anticipation and tension in preparation for the awaited graduation assessment. A student whispered to his peers with enthusiasm and excitement. "Did you hear? News has been circulating about the attendance of top guild union officials for this graduation combat assessment." Another student replied with understanding and deduction. "Ah, that explains the strong turnout and the change in the annual assessment rules, which previously did not require a specific team size or rank. The new rules imposed a minimum team size of 5 members on the condition of having at least one member with a high rank A or above, while he calmly observed the situation." Supervisor Schwan, the recruitment director, announced strictly over the loudspeaker. "Students, attention! Your final rank data has been sent to your wristbands. I demand you form your teams quickly." Immediately, classification windows and holographic screens appeared with glowing clarity before the eyes of all the students in the packed hall, which spread murmurs and a state of chaos throughout the hall, as everyone began checking their ranks and statuses with scrutinizing and anxious looks. And there, his friends were completely shocked the moment they saw his specific and surprising classification on the displayed list, where the screen clearly revealed that he had only obtained a low rank A, sparking extreme objection and shock among his friends. Ma Long screamed in shock while looking at his wristband in astonishment. "Chen, what does this mean? I'm surprised by the decline in the result. How did your classification drop to just a low rank A?" A female student whispered to her friend in surprise. "Look at Chen. His classification dropped from the previous rank C to currently a low rank A. It's truly strange." This general confusion drew attention towards him amid students' doubts and questions about a glitch or malfunction in the Magic Corps' assessment system. A student stepped back in disgust, dismissing the idea of adding him to his team. "I was thinking of adding him, but after knowing his low rank, I see he's dead weight compared to President Guangting's team." Another student mocked with biting sarcasm audibly. "Exactly. Who would gamble and risk their future in the graduation assessment to include a loser with a low rank like him?" A third student pointed gloatingly at him. "He previously rejected Leader Guangting's invitation. He will surely regret and mourn his rotten luck after this shameful result came out."
On the other side of the hall, Supervisor Shun watched this embarrassing situation from the podium with a malicious smile and cold glares directed toward his nephew, Guangting, criticizing the situation to himself with veiled sarcasm. "My useless nephew, when will you learn? You lack the experience to correctly use influence and power and manipulate simple human nature." Narrowing his eyes cunningly, he decided to settle the matter. "I will teach you a harsh lesson. I have decided to eliminate this rival of yours from the competition entirely. This whole current situation and the low classification were orchestrated and planned by me so that he would be unable to even participate and form a team."
In the university hall, where the survival of the fittest policy manifested in its ugliest form, the supervisor grabbed the megaphone to announce in a warning tone,
"Students, use your time and form your teams as quickly as possible."
A large crowd of students rushed toward Guangting, trying to win him over, as a first student shouted enthusiastically while pushing his way through. "President Guangting, please include me in your team. Choose me." They surrounded him in complete supplication as a female student begged him with a trembling voice full of hope. "I have been in the student council for 3 years. I won't be a burden, I promise. Take me with you." Some even went too far in groveling for acceptance, as a second student bowed forward in despair, screaming, "Mr. President, my healing class will be a massive weapon for you and the team. Accept me as a supporter, or even as your errand dog." Until his companion shouted in annoyance, harshly pushing the applicants back. "Shut up! Back off, all of you! We only have 1 vacant seat. We won't take trash."
After half an hour passed, the alliances were settled, and the holographic screens in the hall flashed, announcing through the smart wristbands, teams complete. The hall buzzed with the sounds of elite teams exchanging wishes for success, while the weak were left to face their grim fate.
In a forgotten corner, our team was swallowing the bitterness of isolation as he looked at his wristband with sorrow and pain. Even after asking everyone in my desperate attempts, no one wants to join us. We are still just 4. His teammate replied with obvious disappointment and extreme tension. At this rate, we won't even be able to enter the graduation exam. We are threatened with total disqualification because we haven't met the quorum. Looking at his leader's assessment screen in turmoil and disbelief. This is insane! How did the sudden drop in your classification happen? Only some high-rank E students are left, and none of them accept us. The other teammate slammed his fist into his hand angrily. Registration requires 5 members, plus a highly rated rank E member. It seems the administration is deliberately targeting our room to impose these impossible registration conditions. While he watched silently, his eyes narrowing coldly. We have no other choice. The combat assessment is our sole opportunity to prove our competence after this deliberate marginalization, realizing in secret with a piercing look that, collective excellence in this test is the only ticket to a promising professional future for all of us. Explaining to his comrades calmly, the density of monsters in the rift is related to the number of team members, so no one wants to carry dead weights, which eliminates the advantage of large, randomly stacked teams. But despite this logic, all students continued their reluctance to ally with those holding low classifications, fleeing from inevitable failure. The situation worsened with the presence of the 3 weakest students in the entire institute inside one dorm room, making them completely outcast.
Amidst the tense atmosphere, a shout broke the isolation from an arrogant student calling out loudly and provocatively, "Hey, Shangzhu, we are 1 person short. Come and join us." Continuing in a condescending and warning tone, "You certainly don't want to stay with the low-rank E trash in your room, do you? If you don't join us, you will be immediately disqualified with them for not meeting the quorum." He watched the situation silently, realizing the danger of the path, inwardly calculating the danger. At this rate, we will be completely outcast and permanently disqualified from the assessment if he agrees. Certain in secret that, inwardly certain, collective rejection will inevitably lead to our disqualification from the competition circle and the destruction of our only chance to evolve. With calm dignity, but the requested teammate turned around calmly to reply disapprovingly, "Thank you for your offer, but I refuse it and apologize," and raised his head with dignity, surprising them all with his strictness. Strict and dignified. "Our room agreed a long time ago to take the test as a team. I will not abandon my roommates regardless of the consequences." The arrogant student got angry and mocked bitterly. "Shh, what an ungrateful bastard. We considered you just a filler anyway. Stay at the bottom." He glared at them coldly, warning them against the consequences of underestimation. The anxious teammate glanced at the assessment screen, with eyes overflowing with extreme anxiety and despair. "Almost impossible. Everyone has found teams. What do we do now?" Pulling his hair in extreme tension. "The top rankers are gone, and the teams are complete. It's impossible to fill our only vacancy to reach the minimum allowed for registration."
Then he fixed his gaze toward the upper platform, discovering the threads of the plot. Recruitment Director Guang Xuan is watching us from the Guang Ting family, logically connecting the events in secret. The kinship connecting the recruitment director to my rival is as clear as day. His features stiffened with determination and defiance. Deciding to change the historical graduation law? The dirty manipulation of my true classification to make me an outcast? Do they really think I am such a big threat that they secure this relative this way? Whispering with resentment about the crudeness of the targeting. I will take this assessment no matter the cost, and since you target me so shamelessly, an icy energy flowed from his body, flooding his surroundings, signaling an imminent fierce storm. The hidden system interface popped up, announcing successful transformation to the new Raksha class. A beastly energy and massive pressure erupted from his being, deciding with a definitive, irrevocable look to end any form of diplomacy. Declaring confidently, his voice dripping with coldness and threat, proving competence is not limited to test papers and fake regulations. Official tests never monopolize the standards of measuring true power. Signs of shock clearly appeared on the features of the recruitment director as he watched this sudden rebellion. His teammate turned around in bewilderment, trembling and taking a step back. "Hey, what are you doing, man? What's your next move?" Reminding him in a confident tone amidst the restlessness of the surrounding crowds. The Academy and its ancient history encouraged live duels to prove competence. Smiling with absolute ferocity, I will challenge Guang Ting in front of everyone. Launching individual challenges is the most effective, albeit most provocative way to prove worthiness with absolute power. His rising aura forced the crowds to step back in awe as he maliciously hinted,
Once he is crushed, this arrogant elite will pant to join our team out of fear, even if some of them try to evade the duel. Asserting with complete conviction, it's impossible for him to refuse this public challenge while surrounded by his followers. While the rival maintained his absolute composure, feigning indifference, the scene grew tense with exchanged energy-charged glares, signaling an imminent violent clash between the two rivals. With a surprising graceful shift, the charged stillness of the arena was interrupted by a soft female voice asking clearly as she approached smiling. Si-Chen, is your team still looking for members? You have a vacant seat, right? Continuing confidently, causing everyone to turn to her in bewilderment. I would like to participate in the graduation assessment with you to complete the number. The vice president appeared confident, smiling coldly to reassure them. I reached rank D in middle school since I was young, so I promise I will never be a burden to you. His companions were tongue-tied from surprise as his friend wondered to himself, drowning in confusion. Since when does he know the vice president of the council, and what is the connection between them for her to support him like this? A follower of the rival sharply denounced the situation, stammering in shock. Damn it, the official is going to join trash like him? While shock completely tied his leader's tongue, the director's face frowned and turned pale with anger at this sudden turn of events, threatening his cunning plan. Students' rumors and whispers erupted in surprise at the decision of the outstanding exchange student ranked as vice president to support these outcasts. He objected loudly and angrily, trying to save his plan. Miss Ling Yu, as an exchange student, you do not have the right to participate. You have no legal right to engage in our academy's internal assessment. Furthermore, we have no documents proving your current classification. This is a blatant violation of the rules. But she faced his claims steadily, as if she expected this response.
Suddenly, a deep, booming voice pierced the arena's silence, shaking the entire hall as the principal appeared out of nowhere in support. Recruitment Director X is absolutely right. The director paled with panic, and the students gasped in shock following this sudden appearance of the ghost principal of the institute. The principal looked at the vice president with overwhelming majesty, interrogating her motive. You are here as a guest for a short period. Why involve yourself in this test by barging in suddenly? He analyzed the situation in secret with intense focus. When did he appear? I thought he was of the solid warrior class. How does a principal of this combat class possess the complex instant teleportation technique? The principal strictly hinted. Your participation will disrupt the balance of parity in the test, don't you agree? She replied with indifference and a brief provocative apology. Oh, what a pity. He secretly activated his skill stealthily. Inwardly stealthy. I will use the exploratory purgatory insight to penetrate the classifications of the principal and this mysterious newcomer. But he became apprehensive and retreated mentally. Damn, total failure. I cannot read the rank of either of them. Their system is completely encrypted against my absolute system.
The director hastened to flatteringly support the principal's position under the pretext of upholding the regulations, sweating profusely. Exactly, Principal. We must uphold the strict regulations of the assessment at any cost to ensure integrity. The principal directed his words to the director in a tone carrying a strict, veiled threat. Our mission and message at the National University is to hone the super elite and provide a fair platform to showcase their talents. Continuing his decisive statement with absolute passion, the institute must be transformed into a sustainable mine for honing mighty talents to prepare them for the upcoming global arena. Strongly denouncing and warning him, the graduation exam is the major turning point. If any cadre is deprived of this historical opportunity due to administrative complications or exceptions, how will we maintain our prestige as a supreme academy? Terror permeated the director's limbs as he wondered to himself with suspicion and fatal fear. Is this senile old man directing his words at me? Has he realized and then covered my demonic manipulation of the system data? Deep down, he bitterly disapproved. It doesn't matter. I won't clash with him, but how did the principal and this newcomer ally to support a mere marginalized student like him? Opting for a tactical retreat, leaning on his absolute certainty of their relative's victory in secret. It's fine. The victory is sealed for us anyway. Reassuring himself with malicious comfort. Internally reassuring. The elite teams are complete, and our team is at the top, while he is isolated with the weakest student links. Let them participate to be crushed. Announcing in a dramatic retreat to the principal. You have spoken the truth, Principal. The recruitment department misjudged. I announce the cancellation of numerical and classification restrictions. Incomplete teams are allowed to participate and their legitimacy is accepted. The doors are open to everyone. The electronic system immediately approved documenting the team's registration, and the holographic screen of their team flashed, announcing Team Complete. Joy overwhelmed the comrades as his teammate jumped for joy. Yes, we can finally take the test. You are the team leader. Take the banner. He calmly took the leadership banner in response to their request. The principal observed the situation and the new dynamic with a mysterious smile, whispering to himself, "You are very interested in this boy. Quite interesting." Drawing an intellectual comparison in his mind, internally comparing. On one hand, we have the strongest team in history, and on the other, the youngest bottom-ranking ones. Eagerly anticipating what will happen. Internally, eagerly anticipating. I wonder which crawling path they'll choose, and which rift they'll storm. I await the final results impatiently. The supervisor signaled the start, announcing, "Now team leaders have the right to choose their dungeons and the rift to be stormed from the central panel." As soon as the system opened, the central screen flashed with shocking news along with a loud alarm announcing the submission of the choice, and the red square lit up sharply next to their team to announce the immediate settling of the choice. A widespread wave of bewilderment swept the crowds upon discovering the speed of their team's lightning-fast and entirely unexpected initiative. Massive chaos erupted, interrupting the supervisor as the students fixed their eyes on the screen in screaming shock. What? This fast? Their team is already chosen? Damn it, did they really choose that rift? Panic struck the roommates. They grabbed him, crying in terror and begging. "Have you gone mad? Go back immediately and cancel the choice. For hell's sake, man! Do you realize what nightmare you just chose?" While he stood frozen in his place with the firmness of ice, ignoring his comrades' panic, and prepared to storm the eye of the storm that he had ignited with deadly steadiness.